This is the Troll Patrol, live with Justin Freakin.
I didn't even put my thing up on the screen because I've been having problems. As you can see, this is not my usual microphone. Completely different microphone. Why? Not because there was anything wrong with my microphone, but because my microphone clip broke with like 3 minutes to go. It was just falling down. I'm like, do I have another microphone clip? And I'm like rushing. I've got multiple microphone clips. I'm like, okay, this is cool. And I go to put them on the microphone, like the one that fits the microphone doesn't fit the microphone arm. So then I have to figure out, oh, well, several of these clips fit the microphone arm, but they won't hold my usual mic, so I got to grab a different mic. I've got multiple microphone options. This is the one that I went with. I don't know how it sounds. I didn't get a chance to record and listen to it. I assume it's pretty good. It's a good microphone. It's not a bad microphone, so we'll see how the show goes. Welcome. Good evening. It's the Troll Patrol Live. It's a freaking Sunday. Let me put my stars up on the TV. I feel naked without them. Gotta be something. Got stars in the background. Welcome in, peeps. Sorry for the lateness. Where's Warlord to cuss me out? I was all excited too because like I haven't heard the usual Troll Patrol opening in forever because it's always been Halloween or election shit for weeks, it feels like. I didn't even get a chance to enjoy it because I was frantically trying to get shit together. I've got Smokey laying on my soundboard over here. The recipe for disaster. But we're going to try to make it work. We got a lot of news to cover. Is there anything going on this week that we need to prep for, perhaps? Oh no, I can't really think of anything. A lot of crime stories. We got a verdict in the cop that contributed to Breonna Taylor's death back in 2020. If you want an even more retro story, a man who sexually assaulted a toddler in 1986 has been arrested. A teen is being praised for helping people during the Washington Mall shooting on Halloween. Texas man armed with a sword sets a house on fire. 2 cops were injured in LA in a crash, I think caused by an intoxicated teen. I don't know what a Washington sex scammer is, but apparently we have a story about a sex scammer that resides in Washington. Ones are balls. Good evening. We got a P. Diddy witness who was in the courtroom. Going to talk to us about what he heard. Apparently 2 different underage celebrities were at the Diddy freak-off parties. What? My shit isn't there. God damn it. Nothing working for me tonight. Nope, that's not the one. I'm giving away like personal information and shit. Good on me. Pay attention, Dirk. This is how you turn a possible 120-year sentence into 15 years of probation. I love this one because you've got Young Thug in the meme, a very famous meme. And the meme is about Young Thug. It's got levels. It's got everything you need. It's also a story we're going to be talking about tonight because my boy, Young Thug, is now a free man. Surely that trial would have ended in a mistrial if the prosecution had continued. That's why Young Thug was able to get such a sweet deal. Because he's guilty of what they charged him with. White powder was thrown out of a window in Los Angeles, caused the injury of several people. Post office worker crashed into a car and then pulled a hit and run. A Nevada prison worker was sent home for being intoxicated. You're never going to guess what happened. I shouldn't laugh at this. Was sent home for being intoxicated. His job as a prison worker. A coach in Texas was apparently the kingpin of $1 million cheating scheme. The brother of Taylor Swift's boyfriend apparently got into a fight with some rowdy individual at a restaurant. And we're going to cover the shit that's going on this week that they're calling, like, I think it's called the 2024 election. I think it might be a big deal. All that and a lot freaking more tonight on the Troll Patrol Live. DJ Dub, good evening. I'm glad you're here. How does this microphone sound? Have we compromised on sound, or does it sound okay? Ash, my friend, so glad to see you. Is that what it is? My mic is not bad, and I shouldn't feel bad. Shut up, Warlord. Warlord lying up in here. Shelly, good evening. As I was coming on, my microphone clip broke. I was like pulling it over and like whoop. I had erectile dysfunction, and then I went looking for a clip, and the clips that fit this arm didn't fit the microphone. The clips that fit the microphone didn't fit it was just a whole ordeal. So that's how we ended up with just a normal cardioid stick mic. Okay, if you're listening through monitors, then we're good. Hell yeah. All right, cool. We're going to talk about Young Thug here in a little bit, and I can't wait to show you him walking out as a free man following his plea deal in Georgia. Oh, but we got election shit to get to, and I bet Trumpster at least is getting ready to speak. He is in Georgia. Harris, I think, has already wrapped up her event for the day. Of course, she was on Saturday Night Live last night. Busy days for both campaigns. Yes, here is Trump.
On a road, was found by the police in condition that they said they've never seen anything like that before. The animal who murdered Mimi was an illegal alien who came to Georgia to maim and kill people. It made no difference who they were. Mimi,
very low energy.
A 9-year-old daughter and her absolutely wonderful mother, Carmen. Yesterday, my friend,
so he's back in Georgia.
A very patriotic and philanthropic man, said he had the fortune to make a lot of money, and he gives a lot of his money away. He's just very...
I don't think he started until just a couple minutes ago, Sassy. Welcome in. Good evening.
Problems, and he made tremendous contributions to...
That's what I've heard this hat that he's wearing with the black and gold is all about.
All these states, Tennessee, South Carolina, Florida. What a horrible thing that was.
Florida water?
But my friend's name is Steve Witkoff, and he reached out to Carmen when he heard.
It's Dark MAGA. Clinically, good evening. This is live in Georgia.
And he may not want to speak in front of 40,000 people because I don't know if he's ever done it before. But
Well, the black and gold is not something he pulls out a lot.
if it's okay with you, Steve, I'd love to have you.
Apparently, he is flipping out about several things that we're going to cover. So that's him live right now. We can check back in with him if you want to. I think he just started speaking within the last 30 minutes because last time I checked, he was not speaking yet. But he's had several rallies over the last couple of days where he said some really crazy shit. I think this was earlier today. Talked about reporters being shot and how he shouldn't have left the White House in 2020.
Hours of campaign 2024, Vice President Kamala Harris spoke at a church in Detroit Sunday.
These days will demand everything we've got, but when I think about the days ahead and the God we serve, we were born for such a time as this.
Later, the vice president addressed his supporters in East Lansing, Michigan. Former President Donald Trump rallied in North Carolina and Pennsylvania. There, he stoked controversy as he talked about the ballistic glass protecting him at the venue.
To get me, somebody would have to shoot through the fake news. And I don't mind that so much.
In a statement, a campaign spokesperson said, quote, "The president's statement about protective glass placement has nothing to do with the media being harmed or anything else." The former president
What?
early and mail-in voting
He clearly said they would have to shoot through the reporters to get to him.
while claiming election fraud was already underway.
The vests have caught on.
And paper ballots.
This evening, Trump speaks in Macon, Georgia.
Following this Georgia rally, the former president will focus on North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Michigan tomorrow.
Keep Kamala and carry on, Allah.
And millions watched Vice President Kamala Harris in last night's opening segment on Saturday Night Live. Cristian Benavides, CBS News, Macon, Georgia.
The best skit on Saturday Night Live last night was the one where, like, the liberal was grilled on the game show with the tweet of you tweeted never forget these names, and it was blurred out like, can you remember these names? They brought out Tim Kaine, was like, you said 2016 was the most important election of all time. Who was the vice presidential candidate in 2016? It was fantastic. Mwah. One of the best SNL skits in years. That wasn't the only violence that Trump has been talking about. Apparently, he wished ill upon Liz Cheney.
Let's begin with the final push for both presidential campaigns. Former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris have just 4 more days to shore up support from undecided voters before election.
Listen to that now.
Candidates are turning their focus down to the Midwest. Both Trump and Harris will head to Wisconsin today. The former president will also hold a rally at a college in Michigan. Trump's rally strategy has been to hurl insults at Harris and her campaign surrogates. Yesterday, during a fireside chat with Tucker Carlson, though, he used violent language and imagery, suggesting former GOP Congresswoman Liz Cheney should have guns pointed at her face. Listen.
His daughter is a very dumb individual, very dumb. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face.
All right, let's bring in CBS.
That sounds like he's calling for the firing squad, right? Because 9 guns is very specific. It's not that I can understand you like, why don't a congresswoman fight in the war if she's such a proponent of it?
News campaign reporter Jake Rosen, he's joining me now from our bureau in Washington.
That's a valid criticism.
Jake, you've covered the Trump campaign for some time now. We know that
Oregon gal, thank you for the resub.
Oftentimes childish, sometimes
welcome in.
Rhetoric that is dangerous. In this case, a former president of the United States suggesting that guns should be trained at the face of a woman who simply just disagrees with him politically. What's the reaction from Trump's camp on this attack on Liz Cheney?
Mama, welcome in.
Has tried to make clear in kind of cleaning up this comment that it was in reference to Liz Cheney's policies on past U.S. wars and her general foreign affairs and foreign policy views.
I'm afraid it's going to break the right-wing brains. They are so primed, especially with all the polls currently showing that Trump is the favorite to win. The Nate Silver aggregate is showing Trump has like a 65% chance to win right now. They are being told to expect a Trump victory, and when it doesn't happen, it's going to break their brains, and I don't know what they're going to do.
Obviously, that being said, he was still suggesting that 9 guns be pointed in her face, especially in the political climate that former Representative Cheney had to deal with for a long time. As she was
Holiday, welcome in.
Committee where a lot of those members were facing constant threats. And the Harris campaign has clung on to this as well. A spokesperson for the campaign saying that this is a reference to firing squads, in addition to Liz Cheney herself saying that this is the language of dictators, and that, again, reaffirming her support for Vice President Harris.
All right, let me ask you about this now. The former president attempted to sway Muslim voters last week in Michigan, and he described Liz Cheney and other Harris supporters as anti-Muslim. Trump is headed to the Detroit metro area, which, as you know, has a large Arab American community. What do we expect to hear from him this afternoon?
Well, Donald Trump's argument has been that, again, like a lot of these groups that his campaign has micro-targeted, especially in Michigan, is that his foreign affairs policy in terms of starting no new wars, making sure that America focuses on itself and helps communities of immigrants who are here legally, they believe that that applies well to communities like Dearborn and Dearborn Heights. The 2 mayors of majority Muslim or Arab American cities have endorsed Donald Trump in the last couple of weeks. They've touted those endorsements. He had a number of imams on stage last weekend to tout their support for him and speak about, again, his foreign affairs views and how they align with that. Again, this kind of fits into the bigger picture of Vice President Harris and her campaign struggles to kind of rein in her supporters' views on the war in Gaza, and basically saying, if you don't agree with Vice President Harris, I will be the one to make sure that there's peace in the Middle East. Whether that's true or not, we saw the same amount of drama has kind of both administrations.
The bombshell dropping in the last 48 hours. Are you ready for this? This is going to be a little bit too much Jeffrey Epstein for me, but we're going to do it. We're going to suffer through it for you guys. This is the now released Epstein tapes. Battle Opossum, good evening.
Do you know this? That was close to straight. So I.
If you didn't see the caption, I was Donald's closest friend for years.
Yes. That was close to straight. So I need the dump. Just give me Donald.
The dump on Donald.
First, it's fun. So you probably know he had a scalp reduction because he had the same male pattern movement that we all have. He had his scalp moved in the system. Donald's office, as you know, he made that call. He used to be on the phone as that fake PR person. I also found it funny. I was sitting there listening to the guys from the Post talk, and Donald would say, he's a great guy. I loved working with him. And I sit there going, this is just amazing. And he'd say, Michael, come on, let's go to the office. And he'd say, tell me, what's it like in there? He'd say, do you like having sex with your wife? How often do you? He'd say, it's great.
Wait.
Seriously, Michael, how often do you have sex? Don't you want to? You and I can go upstairs, or tomorrow come over. There's this girl's coming in from Los Angeles, part of the Hawaiian Tropic Hawaiian. So come over 3 o'clock. You're going to have a great time. I promise you.
So now this happened in 2017. This was recorded in 2017. Trump was in his first year as president. This is before Epstein was arrested. Michael Wolff is interviewing this dude that he knows is a pedophile at this time, which one is disgusting, and has sat on this audio all this time. How is... I don't understand how he justifies that. And how didn't he release this in 2020? Why wouldn't he have done this in the 2020 election? Why would he have waited all the way to 2024? This is just insane.
Gee, Michael, it's just me and you. You're going to have a great time. Be up here at 3 o'clock. We can go upstairs. The whole time, Victoria's been on the phone, listening. He set it up. Because he wants a story. So he has you on, because as an avoid conversation.
God damn it.
You're not going to say yes, but watch. He had a really well speech with, how would you like really unfucking.
It's the remix.
You must have had a better wife, right? So I said, yes. Tell me about it. And the wife's on the speakerphone, listening, smiling, and said, I know I think you're really hot. And I know you think you're a guy. Michael is like the end of the world, the best guy on earth. You will be married to him. You're wrong. Just listen to the next 20 minutes. And you can go with him, your office, set you up.
We've got more, too, apparently about how he cuckolded his friends.
So, just tell me about his intelligence.
With respect to real estate deals, he's brilliant. He's a salesman. He knows real estate really well. Anything else but that, he knows nothing. No history.
Oh, God, he's calling Donald dumb.
It's not to say about executive function. The executive function says, and it's strange because construction, by definition, is just that. First you have the foundation, you have the steels going up, what stage? But in terms of his anything but real estate, he can't figure out if I fire Bannon, what happens tomorrow.
So cause and effect, that has no relationship. Is it in analytic intelligence?
No.
Now, what's this thing about that functionally he can't read, or he doesn't read, or
he doesn't read. He certainly can't read a balance sheet.
So he can't read a balance sheet, but he's good at real estate.
No idea.
Explain that one.
He doesn't read. He reads page 6. So he's not functionally illiterate. But his reading comprehension of anything complicated is very good.
He's dumb.
now what's other than he has he has a sense of humor. He can be funny.
He's great.
What else?
He's delightful. I've never seen that about him.
His ability to sell. He is charming. He is able to convince people. It's very much like Clinton. Both Bill and Donald have the ability to go over to a fat, ugly woman.
What?
Say, you are the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. So he tells everybody what they want to hear. And then it's charming. And I'm telling you that I know 4 or 5 people who have recently seen him. I just realized we're talking, where he built the UN Plaza Trump Tower, listening to our amazing. I was going to take the top 4. I went with Donald to see it. And it was, again, what if you can pay me if that was 11 It's a $13 million transaction. You can pay me 11, you're recording the 13 that you give to tomorrow. It's always.
That was very
So
unintelligible.
the idea that he's that bad, dirty business. He's a construction person in New York City, the electricians union in the country. I have no idea what they're thinking. But he's a horrible human being. In Jeffrey's book, he
Did he just call
his best friends' wives. Anyone who first tries to gain your trust and then uses it to do bad things. That's how it goes.
We really didn't learn a lot from that. That wasn't fucking revealing. Always a book plug, too. Meanwhile, Harvey Epstein, who I thought was completely made up on SNL, but no, is actually a real person, has responded to the SNL skit about him. City Council hopeful Harvey Epstein responds to the SNL skit about him. Comedian John Mulaney poked fun at the assembly member's unfortunate name. I agree with John Mulaney. Let's not call it Epstein Island, he wrote, referring to one of the jokes they cracked on SNL. Mulaney played Epstein in the skit, joked about the politician sharing a name with Harvey Weinstein, the movie producer and convicted sex offender, and Jeffrey Epstein, who died by suicide in 2019, awaiting trial for sex trafficking minors. Look, is my name ideal? Of course not. I share names with two of the most notorious sex perverts of all time. You think I don't know that? Anytime John Mulaney hosts, it's a good SNL. What'd that Trump rally be doing?
These people, they are true evil. When I win, I will not let
Damn, this is dark.
into our country any longer. I will not let them spill one more drop of
Lenny, good evening.
American blood. And I just want to thank you, Carmen.
I don't care for you, Battle Opossum.
So incredible. The mother is devastated. It's like devastated. She was devastated. You can never really be the same, can you? Just people say, oh, time. Sometimes with time, a lot of times.
They're holding up
gets more
hearts.
The United States
as he's talking about like violent crime.
We're an occupied country. This is thousands of people all over our.
Oh, absolutely. That's all it's been, Flash. Every time I've checked back in it, he's been talking about like some news story.
Sometimes higher than military grade. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Where the hell do those weapons come from, right?
He's talking about us being occupied by immigrants and shit. Like, this is fucking dark. He better lose. Like, surely he loses. So we have reports of Russian interference in the election. The country of Moldova accuses Russia of massive voter interference.
A Moldovan security official accused Russia on Sunday of massive interference as voters cast their ballots in a tight presidential race. It's a runoff election that could see Moscow claw back influence in a country drawing closer to the European Union. Pro-Western incumbent Maya Sandu spoke of defending the country's sovereignty after voting in the capital, Chisinau. Thieves want to buy our voices, buy our country, but the power of the people is much greater than the power of evil, she said. Her pro-Moscow opponent, Alexander Stoyanoglo, said he voted for a Moldova that will develop good ties with both the West and the East. Brussels is closely watching the election after Sandu set Moldova on the long path of EU accession talks in June. It comes a week after Georgia,
what a pretty little country,
Soviet state seeking EU membership, re-elected a ruling party regarded in the West as increasingly pro-Russian. Moldova's future has been in the spotlight since Russia began its full-scale invasion in 2022 of neighboring Ukraine to the east. On Sunday, Sandu's national security advisor Stanislav Secrieru wrote on social media accusing Moscow of interfering in the election, warning it was, quote, an effort with high potential to distort the outcome. Secrieru cited reports of Moldovans being transported to vote in an organized and illegal way from a pro-Moscow breakaway region where Russia has soldiers stationed as peacekeepers. There was no immediate comment from Moscow, which has denied past allegations of meddling. The Moldova government has also accused Ilan Shor, a fugitive oligarch living in Russia, of spending millions of dollars to pay off voters to oppose Sandu. It's said the meddling affected the election's first-round results on October 20th. Shor has denied wrongdoing.
Poor Moldovans. Russia interfering in their election. Apparently, they're also interfering in our election. This time I saw the story and thought it meant Georgia the country, because last time I saw a story about Russia interfering in Georgian election, it was the country. This time I also thought it was the country, but no, apparently they interfered in the state of Georgia.
The U.S. intelligence community has assessed that Russian influence actors are behind this Moscow-manufactured video spreading across social media, claiming that a group of Haitians illegally voted for Vice President Kamala Harris in Georgia. Georgia state election officials have labeled the video, viewed hundreds of thousands of times, as disinformation, calling it the likely work of a Russian troll farm. Now, cybersecurity experts are warning Americans to stay vigilant.
Videos being circulated by Russian intelligence are designed to undermine confidence in the integrity of our elections, to sow discord, and in some cases, likely to inspire violence.
Just last week, 3 top U.S. agencies pinned another fabricated video on Russia, this one purporting to show ripped up ballots in Pennsylvania's Buck County. Now, the fear by U.S. officials here is that we could see more fake videos churned out by Russia both before and after Election Day. But the intelligence community has been aggressive here. In fact, this latest warning came out just 11 hours after the propaganda turned viral. Nicole Skenga, CBS News, Washington.
And you think that's going to stop things? You think these motherfuckers like, oh, the intelligence community came out and said this is Russian propaganda. You think it's going to do nothing but like galvanize the Trump supporters? Everything is Russian propaganda. Apparently the White House altered a transcript of Joe Biden's comments about Trump supporters being garbage. Reporting by the USA Today, he made the comment on a Zoom call with the organization Voto Latino. It was in response to racist jokes made by a comedian at a New York Trump rally. One joke referred to Puerto Rico as a floating island of garbage.
Garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization of Latinos is unconscionable. And it's un-American. It's totally contrary to everything we've done, everything we've been.
So the White House released an official transcript that added an apostrophe to supporters. Change drew objections from stenographers as per information obtained by the Associated Press. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. I don't give a shit which way he said it. AP reports an internal email said the change was made after the press office conferred with the president. Yet it aligns with the president's explanation of the remarks. Earlier today, I referred to the hateful rhetoric about Puerto Rico spewed by Trump supporters at his Madison Square Garden rally as garbage, which is the only word I can think of to describe it. He should have been firmer. Exactly, Flash. Who gives a shit if he called Trump supporters garbage? I mean, come on. They say worse all the time. Trump has said worse. But here is Doug Burgum on the Sunday morning shows. What was it? Meet the Press this morning with Kirsten Welker.
One, it's the disrespect of this administration for Americans and their concerns, whether it's the border, whether it's inflation, but it
Princess Kimberly.
What we've seen is that that Vice President Harris was part of this cover-up of Joe Biden's capacity.
Well, speaking of that, Governor, former President Trump had this to say back in September on that point about garbage. Listen.
It's not her. It's the people that surround her. They're scum. They're scum, and they want to take down our country. They are absolute garbage.
So, Governor, is it hypocritical to fixate on President Biden's comments, considering Donald Trump used the word garbage to describe Kamala Harris's supporters?
Well, I think what we're seeing here again this week, and whether
watch him weasel.
Parsing of comments from the last 7 days is not what's going to determine the election. I mean, I would be thrilled to be on this show talking about the fact that North Korea is sending troops to Ukraine. That
he could have, but he was bitching about Joe Biden calling him garbage.
Iran over their nuclear weapon. But this is American politics, and this is the season of the last week before election. There's always a lot of name calling in the last week. This has all happened before, but I think in the end of the day, the voters are going to make a decision about their own condition, and people telling them what they should be enraged about because he or she said this thing is not the same as a person's lived experience. If their lived experience is they're having trouble making their paycheck pay for their food, their gas, their clothing, their rent, or their mortgage payment, that outweighs. In the end, the economy is what's going to drive voters on Tuesday, not what somebody may or may not have said. Most Americans don't have time to listen to all of these
the
soap opera of which comments people should be concerned about.
All right.
Wow. The hypocrisy. Meanwhile, this clip from Fox News shows that the right wingers, they're actually into it. They're into that kind of shit.
The concession on safety vests, that color, made a mint over the last 48 hours because I saw so many people yesterday, a couple in my neighborhood, have the number of people like Bruce stand up who are wearing the safety vest, because I was reading that at it's a great call. At a bunch of Trump events over the last 2 days, people have been dressed just like that for Halloween.
That's a great call. Hey, would you stand up if you're wearing a safety vest? If you're wearing a safety vest this morning, there you go.
There you go.
Orange.
All right. We can see him a mile off.
I know someone in South Carolina that sent me a picture of them dressed up yesterday, and it's the safety vest pushing the green, what we call a Herbie Kirby, the green garbage can, and a Trump hat. And now we need to add a name tag that says, "Hello, my name is garbage."
And by the way, they were chanting, "We are trash." That's the first time in America I've never heard a chant has ever. That will not be replicated at any
They were chanting, "We are trash."
in American election history.
Thank you, Will.
All right. This morning. There you go.
There you go.
Orange.
All right. We can see him a mile off.
I know someone in South Carolina that sent me a picture of them dressed up yesterday, and it's the safety vest pushing the green, what we call a Herbie Kirby, the green garbage can, and a Trump hat. And now we need to add a name tag that says, hello, my name is garbage.
And by the way, they were chanting, we are trash. That's the first time in America I've never heard chant has ever. That will not be replicated.
Just insane. We're going off the deep end, people. This week is going to be a tipping point. But I don't know, like, hopefully it just fizzles out. Hopefully there's no violence. Nothing going on, because like not even Trump supporters are that energized. Watch this.
In 9 years, we've had the biggest rallies in history of any country. And every rally's full. You don't have any seats that are empty. You don't have anything. I mean, the one we had today, you missed a beauty. We could have filled that place up 20 times. I mean, that was beautiful. And the Virginia, did you hear about the Virginia?
The cameraman pans out after he says, not an empty seat.
And they had a crowd there that was incredible. And then we came here.
I will tell you that most cameramen are leftists.
When you do these things, it's...
most production people
you don't mind.
are leftists.
We weren't very late. Just a few minutes. Depending on your definition of when it's going to start. But, you know... I was talking to some of the people. It's sort of...
how bored they are.
In a way, it's...
Anonymously.
I was talking to them, and I said, this is coming...
Plenty of empty seats. There's people leaving.
We've been doing them, think of it, for like 9 years. We started a year before, and we've had tremendous success. In 2016, we did phenomenally, right? We went in, they gave us a...
He's just rambling.
And sort of like amazing, right? 3%. That means 97% for crooked Hillary and 3% for me. And I was saying, well,
he's doing math on stage now.
I had 48,000 people, and she had about 300 people. You got an 8 and a third chance of winning. And then we went to another one in another state. We had 49,000 people. She had 243 people. And
T-minus, welcome in.
Why are we going to lose? And we didn't lose, We ended up winning, and we ended up winning the presidency, right? And that was an exciting night.
It keeps going. He just keeps going.
It's
with empty seats.
Fake news. Look, there they are. That's a lot of fake news.
We're going to do Macho Man this Saturday. It's going to be all Macho Man matches. And we do classic wrestling this coming Saturday. Unserved balls, please don't say that in my chat.
That's a hell of a lot of fake news. The fakers, I call them now. I'm sort of lightening up. I'm starting to like them, too.
Flash, will you make sure the feds aren't on my ass because of that?
They treat me so badly.
It keeps going. Yeah, that was NTD. That's a right-wing organization. Let's go to Michigan. Or once again, one of the reasons why I'm so confident that Harris is going to pull off a victory is because the Trump campaign is so incompetent. Canvassers for Elon Musk's America PAC were fired and stranded in Michigan after speaking out. A dozen black canvassers were tricked, threatened, and driven in seatless U-Haul vans. They were fired after Wired reported on their plight, some without full pay or a way back home. Standing next to her hastily packed suitcases in Michigan's Macomb County on Wednesday night, Tyra Muldrow had a bad feeling in her gut. I have this eerie feeling that I need to get the hell out of here, says Muldrow, a 20-year-old black woman from Florida. She was in Michigan as a door knocker hired by a subcontractor for Elon Musk's America PAC operation to turn out the vote for Donald Trump in the heavily contested working-class suburbs of Detroit. Muldrow and the rest of her canvassing group of roughly a dozen people have just been fired en masse after Wired reported that they had been tricked and threatened as part of Musk's Get Out the Vote effort. Speaking publicly for the first time after her ordeal, Muldrow says that the canvassers in her group were fired with little explanation beyond a complaint that someone had spoken with the press. Many, including her, were still owed money. Muldrow had to find her own way home. Others are still stranded in Michigan. Representative for Musk and America PAC did not return a request for comment on October 15th. Muldrow's cousin Ebony Jones recruited her for the job, offering upwards of $2,000 per week and a return flight per emails reviewed by Wired. Muldrow signed a non-disclosure agreement the same day and was then flown to Michigan on October 18th as part of a campaign for Blitz Canvassing, a subcontractor which had received more than $9 million from America PAC. Only upon her arrival in Michigan did Muldrow realize what this job really did entail, canvassing for Trump. No one in her group of contractors, referred to initially as a cell, had a driver's license. They were initially transported via Ubers and were then driven back and forth for nearly 2 weeks in a pair of seatless U-Haul vans between their targeted neighborhoods, staying in a series of motels and Airbnbs in the Detroit suburbs of Warren, Livonia, and Mount Clemens. The three suburbs are in Wayne and Macomb County, the latter of which was the only Detroit area county that Trump won in 2020. In Macomb, where Muldrow primarily spent her time canvassing, he got 53% of the vote, almost exactly the same level of support he earned in 2016, when he secured a margin of tens of thousands of votes in a state decided by a little more than 10,000 votes. The cell was composed entirely of black people, strangers from out of state, who did not know each other but were usually forced to share rooms, according to Muldrow. According to a text message from Jones, Muldrow was promised $1.50 per door and $2 per door if she knocked 1,000 or more doors per week. An all but impossible number. Muldrow further says that they were told that they would have to pay for their lodging unless they met unrealistic quotas. The contract the door knockers signed stated they were expected to maintain a 17 to 22% engagement rate during the campaign, a high target relative to the number of people who typically open the door for a stranger. Videos recorded by Muldrow show cramped living quarters and frequent bickering between members of the cell. Our subcontractors never should have driven their canvassers in a U-Haul van, and those involved were immediately reprimanded. According to Blitz Canvassing, Wednesday, October 30th, Muldrow and her fellow door knockers were fired hours after the publication of the Wired story. At first, some people had trouble logging into Campaign Sidekick, the glitchy app used by America PAC for canvassing. There was confusion before they were finally told it was over. Everyone is fired, said Jones, who served as the door knockers manager, in a GroupMe chat, according to screenshots obtained by Wired. Muldrow thought Jones might be joking about everyone getting fired, but some of the door knockers noticed they'd been locked out of Campaign Sidekick, according to the group chat. I called my mom immediately, Muldrow says. My mom told me I was overreacting because it's my cousin, so she was like, oh, maybe she's playing a joke on you guys. Don't take it literal. And my mom was like, she sent you up there in the first place. You went with her. If anything, you would have your flight home through her. She's not going to let you be stranded. Then, Muldrow says, Jones began asking the door knockers which one of them spoke to the press. As arguments ensued, Muldrow started to fear for her safety. Muldrow packed up her belongings and called Connor Birdie, a 29-year-old political consultant based in Warren, Michigan, and was the founder of Vote for Change, a consulting group in southeast Michigan for his community organizing work. Muldrow had met Birdie, who runs canvassing operations for school board, county commission, and judicial candidates, when by chance one of his employees struck up a chat with her when she was canvassing near their home on October 23rd. Birdie and Muldrow got lunch soon after, and Muldrow told her about how the door knockers in her group had been tricked, threatened, and driven around in U-Hauls to their door knocking locations. Management had clearly not prioritized the safety of the workers or the integrity of the operation. Birdie then arrived and pretended to be an Uber driver to get Muldrow out of the situation. He'd already bought Muldrow a flight back home to Florida, paying out of his own pocket. What a freaking wild story. If you'd like to read the rest of it in Wired, here you go. I'll put it in the chat for you. And that, my friends, is why I think Harris is going to win, because Trump has no ground game. Trump has no campaign. You don't win an election with memes, but that's what they're trying to do. And they're going all in. If you guys don't know this, Harris is apparently going to win white women. Biden lost white women. Hillary Clinton lost white women. Harris is apparently going to win with white women this time. What all the polls show. That is a huge blow to Trump. He's going all in on the man vote. And let me tell you, men are flaky. They don't vote. That's yet another reason why I think Harris is going to win. But maybe, just maybe, stories about squirrels and raccoons will pull off the election for Trump.
He was blindsided on Wednesday morning when agents from the State Department of Environmental Conservation came looking for his famous squirrel.
I was just going through my daily routine of feeding all of our 71 rescue horses at our nonprofit animal rescue. Midway through that, a line of DEC officers, about 6 to 8 of them, showed up and gave me a warrant for a squirrel and a raccoon.
The search warrant said Longo was in unlawful possession of wildlife. He says agents ransacked his property for 5 hours until they found Peanut and Fred the raccoon.
We complied. We weren't allowed to move. We were police escorted into the bathroom. Mind you, this is a search warrant for a squirrel and a raccoon. And I feel like this was a little bit of an overkill.
Longo says he was working on the necessary paperwork to be able to legally own Peanut as an educational animal.
You're not only hurting my family by taking Peanut away from me, but you're also hurting the organization that we started on the back of a rescue squirrel. We named this organization Peanut's Freedom Farm because he has been such a big portion of my life and so many people around the world. You know, we promoted the fact that squirrels are not...
Now, I am all for people having squirrels as pets and everything, like any kind of pet. You rescue an animal, that's cool. Apparently, it was his followers that called the authorities on him because the motherfucker was biting people. And he's got videos of it biting people. So that's why they have euthanized the squirrel, unfortunately, and tested it for rabies.
Not good pets. They don't deserve to be inside, but there are rare occasions where you stumble on an animal that unfortunately can't survive in their normal habitat. That's the only reason why Peanut was ever a rescue animal.
Longo says he rescued Peanut 7 years ago in New York City after the squirrel's mom was hit by a car. He says he rehabbed Peanut and tried to release him into his backyard. But Longo says Peanut never developed the instincts to survive outside. After Peanut was attacked by an animal and lost half his tail, Longo let Peanut live in his home.
And then he became best friends with my cat. So that's when we turned to social media. We put some funny and silly videos out there, and the internet loved him. He became the world's most famous squirrel.
Peanut racked up a combined
I'd never heard of him
on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. Longo says he believes Peanut's fame led to someone filing a complaint.
I'm no expert in anything involving politics of the state, but they sent 6 to 8 officers to my house from Albany to confiscate a squirrel and a raccoon, and it was signed off on a search warrant. So just that in its sense, to say that is one of the most shocking things I could say.
Yeah, cops are dicks.
Is we just used resources and spent an entire day sitting 2 people who run a nonprofit animal rescue and treat them like criminals.
Thanks for watching.
Oh, shut up, Lester.
News and tops.
Oh, that's sad. Curiouser's dad used to have a squirrel, like a pet squirrel. That thing was cool. It'd get up on your shoulder and shit. Now, what did that have to do with the election, you might add? Maybe you've got that. Maybe you got that thought in your head. Apparently, this has become a battle cry for right wingers. They are generating AI art and other bullshit over this squirrel and raccoon. There's Harambe up in heaven with the squirrel and raccoon. Oh, here's Trump laying on the ground. Another angel protecting and guiding Trump. Oh, fucking shit. You can't make this shit up. Save the squirrels. Oh, fucking look at this. He's got the cats and the dogs and the squirrels now. Look at the cutesy wildlife animals with the Vote Trump sign. Oh my God. He's in his McDonald's outfit with the squirrel. This is amazing. We are all peanut to them. Fight for small government. Squirrel lives matter. Save me from legacy media propaganda. Look at this shit. Apparently squirrels vote Republican. Make America nut again.
I can't wait to have your cock in my mouth. I'm going to give you the blowjob of your life. Then I want you inside of me.
Let's go to Detroit. We're keeping it in Michigan. We have felony charges against a driver accused of trying to run over Harris supporters.
Macomb County Prosecutor's Office is bringing 6 felony charges against a man they say intimidated and tried to run over Democratic canvassers. It happened in mid-October. CBS News Detroit's Jack Springate brings us reaction from one of those volunteers who says she was just feet away from being hit by that man's vehicle.
The Macomb County prosecutor is charging 55-year-old Jason Lynch LaFond with 3 counts of ethnic intimidation and 3 counts of assault with a deadly weapon. The charges stem from an October 12th incident where he allegedly shouted homophobic comments at volunteers for the Harris Waltz campaign before accelerating his vehicle and stopping just short of their tent.
Before I could even hit record on my phone, he pressed on the gas pedal, gunning his vehicle directly at me and the tent and other volunteers that were on my left and right.
The prosecutor's office says LaFond took off, but St. Clair Shores police were able to identify him following an investigation. Crook says she's never experienced political aggression like this in her 20 years volunteering for Democratic candidates.
This is the first time that I have really encountered such vitriol and anger and actual physical violence, not just threatening physical violence, but following through with that threat.
LaFond faces a 4-year sentence for each assault charge and 2-year sentence for each intimidation charge if found guilty. Macomb County prosecutor Peter Lucido issued a statement saying, quote, "This alleged assault was not just an assault on the victims, it was an assault on the rights of the victims to express themselves freely and safely and impacts our entire community," end quote.
He's being held on a $50,000 bond following his Thursday arraignment and also got a no contact order for the victims and witnesses of those allegations. He will also have to wear a GPS tether if bonded out. He's going to be back in court November 8th for a probable cause hearing.
I think they just keep him locked up until after the election. The Supreme Court ruled in favor of Virginia last week as they attempted to purge voters from the rolls. But apparently, they have purged some legal voters from the rolls in Virginia, and we're getting ready to hear from one.
Breaking news, the Supreme Court tonight handing Republicans a major defeat, shutting down their argument that thousands of mail-in ballots in Pennsylvania should not be counted. This is CNN investigates another Supreme Court ruling that is affecting voters in the state of Virginia, where 1,600 people were purged from the voting rolls for not being American citizens. The court siding with the Republican governor of Virginia, Glenn Youngkin. The problem was that it was more complicated.
Hayes, good evening. You know what? I'm gonna haze it up. I'm gonna step outside real fast. I'll be right back with you guys.
CNN managed to track down some of them. Renee Marsh is out front.
Just weeks before Election Day, daily purges from Virginia's voter registration rolls. Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin calls it an effort to prevent illegal non-citizen voting, something that rarely happens. CNN got access to the list of 1,600 people and called over 100 of them. While we did identify non-citizens, we also found many citizens who are eligible voters.
Are you a citizen?
Some of them were even born in the U.S. and had voted in several previous elections without problems.
It's a bit confusing that, I registered and now I'm not.
George Mason University student Rachel Hsu spoke to CNN from her dorm room. She didn't know she'd been purged until CNN called.
I was originally born in China. I immigrated here about 6 years ago. I got my citizenship a year ago, but that doesn't change the fact I still have the right to vote. So that's really weird.
She's still not sure why she was purged. Neither is 21-year-old Abdullah Al-Mosawa, who even sent CNN a picture of his U.S. passport as proof of citizenship. He learned about Virginia's daily voter registration purges on TikTok, then realized he was affected. I wouldn't say it feels great, he told CNN. CNN reached out to Governor Glenn Youngkin's office about what we found. His press secretary said in a statement, Governor Youngkin has been clear every eligible Virginia citizen who wants to vote can do so by same-day registering through Election Day. Youngkin has driven the narrative that illegal voting is a problem in Virginia, saying the purge addresses it.
That just provides further comfort across the Commonwealth that this election will be secure, it will be accurate.
Youngkin and other Republicans have followed Trump in stoking fears over voter fraud. Trump baselessly claims illegal voting is part of the reason he lost the 2020 election.
Removing illegal voters off the voting roll should be a big priority for this country.
While the Virginia purge involves a relatively small number of voters in a state not considered a battleground, voting rights groups worry about the chilling effect of the purge on eligible voters.
It's also causing a lot of fear within immigrants and new citizen communities more generally who are getting this information via social media and through the grapevine and hearing that there's some sort of issue and that people could be prosecuted for felonies.
As for Hsu, she says she won't be deterred and plans to re-register and cast her ballot for the very first time on Election Day.
I'm a citizen. I have my right to vote.
Well, Erin, the most important message tonight, any Virginia voter who has been purged and you are a U.S. citizen, you're eligible to vote, you can use Virginia's same-day registration process to vote in person at early voting locations through this Saturday, or you can vote on Election Day at a polling place.
All right, Renee, thank you very much. It's fascinating just to hear from those voters, the citizens. I want to go now to the Democratic Senator Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota. So, Senator, you hear Renee talking to that woman in Virginia who was purged from the voter rolls, even though she is a citizen, she is eligible to vote. Now, Renee did lay out that, and there are loops, but she can still register, she can still vote according to Virginia law, so she would be able to vote. The people on that list who are not citizens would not.
Trump looks oranger and oranger every time you see him. Like weird burnt orange. This Amy Klobuchar?
Across the country is that Republicans are making it difficult.
Who invited her to this?
Legal.
What the fuck?
We know that it is illegal for people who are not citizens to.
How did I walk out? And we're hearing from a voter that got purged in Virginia, and I come back to Amy Klobuchar. Who pulled that one on me? Who was it? Clinically, were you behind that? Auntie, did I tell you good evening? God damn it, Smokey, stop grabbing my mouse. Apparently, Joe Rogan has clarified things about exactly why Kamala Harris wasn't on the Joe Rogan Experience. Oh God, it's
I was not going to do that.
Kamek Kalimsky or whatever the fuck this dude's name is.
And I wasn't going to cancel on you because she had an opportunity to come in. You could look at this and you could say, oh, you're being a diva. But she had an opportunity to come here when she was in Texas, and I literally gave them an open invitation. I said, anytime. I said, if she's done at 10 o'clock, we'll come back here at 10 o'clock. I go, I'll do it at 9 in the morning. I'll do it at 10 p.m. I'll do it at midnight. She's up. She wants to, drink a Red Bull, fucking party on.
Yeah, but I think this idea that you're being a diva is silly because you're offering her the opportunity to do exactly what the other candidate did, right?
Well, she actually reached out when she found out that he was coming on. So their camp reached out to me. So I said, great, I would love to talk to her. But it was very difficult to tie it down, and they wanted to travel. And see, the thing is, like, you can't, if I go somewhere, then there's going to be other people in the room. And they want to control a lot of things, I'm sure, according to the Brett Breyer interview on Fox. Like people.
That's one of the things that I would assume is like he had to deal with the Secret Service with Trump, but it's a much smaller Secret Service brigade. It's a much different thing with the actual vice president. She did go on Howard Stern. That was a thing.
Or waving him off. That's a distraction. People in the room, like my whole goal with her and with him was just talk, have a conversation like a human being.
I hate these guys. All three of them are horrible.
A sense of them, at least a real sense. That was it. I don't give a fuck what we talk about. I really don't. I just want to talk to you. Who the fuck are you?
Do you think they think that you're on his side and they're more wary of you?
I don't know. I mean, there's. Just because of my appearance, there's always been this assumption that I'm some right-wing MAGA guy. I was a Bernie supporter. I am not. I'm a politically homeless person for sure. I always considered myself.
I'm sorry, Mox.
Wing person. I never thought I would ever vote.
Dave is a horrible person.
But then the tides
just joking. I love Dave.
Shifted in a very bizarre way. And it just made me, over time, much more aware of what this stuff is really all about. Because what this stuff is really all about is just these natural human behavior patterns and these tribal instincts that we have. And it overpowers all discussions. It overpowers what's good for the collective group. It overpowers everything. It's just people pick a fucking team, and then whatever that team says, they can do no harm. They will do their best to marginalize the horrible effects of the furthest extreme version of that, whether it's Antifa or the Proud Boys.
Wow. Those two things are not equal.
It's the same. If you look at what's going on with the liberals right now, so progressives they want the war in Ukraine to be funded. They want to censor speech online. And they want to give the World Health Organization, which is deeply influenced by Big Pharma, including the FDA, deeply influenced. The revolving door between the FDA and pharmaceutical drug companies is legendary. And they want to give them control over what we take and what we don't take. And that's crazy. And that doesn't...
I mean, when he says liberals, does he mean capitalists? Because, yeah, they do.
My parents were hippies. We lived in San Francisco during the Vietnam War. My parents were like straight up hippies. That's how I was raised. And so for me, it was always like the liberals were the ones who wanted education and open-mindedness. The liberals who were the ones with the ACLU let the Nazis talk and let them have a rally. They said you can't infringe on people's free speech because if you infringe on the speech of people that you disagree with, you're being a fucking hypocrite. The only solution to bad speech is better speech. We've always known that. But when they're
not equal, motherfucker.
Social media and these collective groups of people that all had the same ideology.
You and I both have the same right to speech, but you, multimillionaire with a platform, have a much different level of speech than I do. And in a capitalist society, your speech means a lot more than mine does. That's just the way it is. How can you not acknowledge that?
And then that tribal mentality kicks in, and you lose the perspective that you should have as an educated person that recognizes that everyone has to be able to talk, and we have to figure out who's right. And you might be wrong. You might be wrong, and you might be clinging to this idea that you're right, and you're going to do the whole thing a terrible disservice.
But like he doesn't question himself. I've seen him be wrong on his show so many times and then double down. Nevada, one of the states that Harris needs to win in order to win the election. A battleground. He has pulled the coolest ad by grabbing the spear. Probably a smart move. And a pretty cool graphic. All right, let's do the election breakdown. I just know the song that was playing was the Beyonce song. The perfect song for the campaign. Let's hear from Kornacki. Kornacki gonna let us know what's going on.
As the Harris and Trump campaigns rev up their supporters and make their final pitches this weekend, their attention is focused on the battleground states that will decide the winner. NBC News national political correspondent Steve Kornacki joins us now from his post.
Did they give Willie Geist his own show?
Night Viewers Guide. Steve,
good.
It is great to see you. The khakis are pressed. We're ready to go. So as we know, there's lots of early vote already in. Where will you be looking as the polls close on Tuesday night to get a feel for where this night may be headed?
Yeah, Willie, good morning to you, too. And the map is blank now. As you say, it won't be long till this thing starts lighting up red and blue. Tuesday night, the first polls in the country are going to close in the 6 p.m. Eastern hour. You'll see that in some of Indiana and Kentucky. But I think where we're going to really start to get a sense quickly.
Oh, God, we're so close.
Clock, and that's going to be when polls in Georgia close. So, remember in 2020, Joe Biden narrowly won Georgia. Trump had carried it in 2016. It's one of the core battleground states. Where are we going to look in Georgia? Well, what I'm going to do, let me pull up the results from 2020 to remind you what the state looked like. In one of the places we're going to be looking right away, I call it the blue blob. These core blue Democratic counties right in the Atlanta metro area. These are big, growing counties, and they've been getting increasingly Democratic. More than 40% of the vote statewide is going to come out of these counties. The question is the blue blob expanding? Are Democrats getting more out of this area? And the place I'm going to key in on in particular is right there. See that one red county? It's Fayette County. Look at, I'll show you here. The Democrats
good evening.
Closer and closer. In 2012, the Republicans won this county by basically 2-1. Trump came along. Their margin falls under 20 points, down to 7 last time. And again, we talk about the suburbs nationwide becoming less Republican, more Democratic, especially in the Trump era. This county typifies that. So it's a good sign for Democrats if this is going from red to blue. If it stays red,
I don't even check text messages anymore.
Looking there, and again, 7.
I just messaged everybody on a messenger app.
After that, just north of Georgia, we're going to head into North Carolina. And again, pulling up here, these are the 2020 results. Remember, Trump won this state narrowly. About 7:30 Eastern, we're going to start getting numbers out of North Carolina. A couple places I'm going to be looking here. One right outside Charlotte. See this red county right here? This is Union County.
Look, there was like 8,000 votes.
Suburban county, a little different than the one I just showed you. because the Republicans are still winning it by a very big margin. And there's big population here, too. But again, the margin has been slipping. You just go back to 2016. Trump won here by a little more than 30. Union County down to 24 for the Republicans. Does that stabilize for Trump, or does that continue to recede? That's a key question. And how about a swing county in North Carolina we're going to be looking at here? If you go just outside Raleigh to Nash County, take a look. Joe Biden won this one. Look how narrowly, 0.2 of a point. 2016, Trump won this thing. Look how narrowly. In 2012, Obama won it. So this county has backed the winner. It's a true swing county. Nash County, it's a large black population around the city of Rocky Mount. There's rural areas, too, that are much more Republican. It's got a mix of different demographics in this county.
Man, Kornacki's good.
In North Carolina, the winner in 2012, the winner in 2016.
Mary Jane.
20. Keep a close eye on who they go with in 24.
All right, so eyes on the Sun Belt first, and then very quickly, Steve, to the blue wall. What's the first state we should be looking at?
Yeah, so Pennsylvania, at 8 o'clock, actually, both Pennsylvania and Michigan will start giving us results. There's a few counties in the central time zone in Michigan that won't until 9, but we'll go into Pennsylvania right now at 8 o'clock. And a couple things to look for here. I think the most contested political territory in the state is kind of in northeast Pennsylvania here. And I'll give you one county in particular. You see where Scranton is, Lackawanna County. And I mean, here's the question. I'll just show you the last 3 elections here. This used to be big Democratic territory. Obama won it by 28.
Jesus saved Justin? I don't think he did.
All the way down to almost 3 points. Joe Biden.
Welcome in, my friend.
Came around in 2020 and won here by 8. The Lackawanna County margin. Are the Democrats doing something like this again? Mid-single digits or better? Or is it getting back to 2016 levels or even flipping to Trump? The more it gets to 2016, or if it ever flips to Trump, great shape for him.
All right, we'll be watching along with you on Tuesday night. Steve Kornacki, thanks so much as always.
Shut up, Lester.
ABC News, of course, will have complete coverage of the election on Tuesday night. That begins at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and we'll be on the air all night as those results continue.
Oh, I thought there was going to be Lester.
Hey, thanks.
Oh, no, it's Al.
Today's show every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8
Hi, Al.
on our stream.
Hi, Kikyo. Good evening, my friend. Kornacki did a good job of breaking down the presidential race, but that is not all that is going on Election Day. We have Senate races, and I specifically want to highlight some of the ones that we didn't get to watch debates for. We're going down to Florida, where it's Rick Scott and Debbie Mercuseral-Powell. I fuck her name up all the time.
A Senate seat next week. Current U.S. Senator Rick Scott looking to keep his job, while a relative Democrat newcomer, Debbie Mercuseral-Powell, is challenging Scott.
And this race will really shape politics far beyond right here in Florida. ABC Action News reporter Michael Paluska is having conversations with the candidates who both argue they are the best choice for our country.
The race for U.S. Senate here in Florida is heating up, and we've interviewed Senator Rick Scott and also his opponent, Debbie Mercuseral-Powell. They are running against each other.
They both said it differently.
Polarized, but this has broad implications not just for the state of Florida, but for the balance of power in the U.S. Senate. Senator, how do you get the undecided voters at this point? What do you want people to know about you aside from the commercials? We met up with U.S. Senate candidates in their final days on the trail. Current Republican Senator Rick Scott at an early voting site, Democrat Debbie Mercuseral-Powell talking to students at USF. What's your ground game now? Like, how are you feeling about this race?
You know, I've been traveling the state now for over a year, and I've spoken to so many Floridians that have been hurt by the policies, the failed policies under Rick Scott.
What's your plan?
So you just talked about the issues. I mean, I think what most people are worried about is they're worried about, their future. They're worried about their job. Inflation's impacting these people. And significantly, they're worried about crime, the border being open.
On most issues, both are locked into their party lines.
I am pro-life, and I don't support the ballot issue.
We need to protect a woman's right to choose.
With back-to-back.
Get this election over, and we're gearing up for where General Strike 2028
have traveled to hard-hit areas. On October 11th, during record floods in Lithia along the Alafaya River, I asked Senator Scott about the recent storms and climate change, something while governor he was previously skeptical of.
I don't think there's any question that the climate's changing. Beach renourishment, sea level rise, studies on it. We did flood mitigation. There was a lot of pumping programs we did and stuff like that. So I think as a
lot of puppies.
As citizens, we're gonna have to figure out how to deal with this. We don't want this to happen. Nobody wants this to happen.
We need to bring investments for more resilient infrastructure to our state, but we have to take action to move ourselves to a greener economy. And what did he do when he was governor? He actually denied that climate change existed. He banned state agencies from using the term climate change. And we cannot allow a climate denier to go back to the Senate. We need climate action, and we need it now.
Then there are the TV ads.
Florida's biggest snake isn't in the Everglades. He's in the Senate. Rick Scott.
Let me ask you one question.
Oh, that's a good ad.
The campaign ad that turns you into a snake. What do you say? You haven't seen it.
Rick Scott's a slippery politician who's been ripping.
That was a really good ad.
Snakes. Do you think the slippery comment at the end of your campaign ad will resonate with people, or do you think they're just going to be creeped out by the snake?
I'm going to let people interpret it the way that they want, but I think, the ad says it all. We're just putting out the facts out there.
My opponent is silly. She's a silly socialist. She's not serious about anything. She lies about everything.
In Tampa with photojournalist Reed Moeller, Michael Paluska, ABC Action News.
Florida is one Senate race we're going to be watching closely that we didn't get a debate out of. Another one is Ohio, which, wow, is shaping up to be the most expensive Senate race ever. Let me repeat that. The Ohio Senate race that we didn't even get a debate out of is going to be the most expensive Senate race ever.
Back 5 days to go until Election Day, and the race for Ohio's U.S. Senate seat is on track right now to be the most expensive in America.
Maybe not surprising because you've been seeing all those commercials, but yes, this tight race between Senator Sherrod Brown and Bernie Moreno is really drawing in big money. And tonight, our WLWT News 5's John London has a look at the strategy of political ads in the last few days of the campaign.
Yeah, under a week to go, so little time, so much money to spend. This Ohio Senate race is tracking as the most
smoky right here, handy.
Ever. And the stakes are high, control of the U.S. Senate.
If you think it's raining political ads every time you turn on your TV.
Bernie Moreno. He's more interested in playing politics than solving problems.
You're right as rain.
Sherrod Brown is a radical left politician. He's for broken borders.
In this final week, Hamilton County gets about 6,000 early voters every day. Like Leslie from Springdale, telling me the ads are a turnoff.
I don't listen to the ads. I don't want people to talk to me about it. I can read and do my own.
I don't want people to talk to me about it.
And they wait.
Bill, what up, my friend?
I wonder why both the Harris and Trump campaigns are pouring so much into a state that no longer has purple battleground status.
Harris needs Brown and Trump.
It's that Senate seat.
Moreno in the Senate.
That race is driving the political bus in Ohio. Between the two, upwards of $440 million will be spent. In our market alone, Brown and the Democrat PACs have spent $12 million. Moreno and the Republican PACs just over $10 million.
There's people who don't vote every election. They might still have strong views.
Xavier Political
New name, welcome in.
Believes the results will turn on turnout.
The goal of those negative ads is to make sure that, hey, listen, you need to make sure this is the most important election of your lifetime.
Brown is the only Democrat who's won statewide in a decade. 31 others have tried and failed. So the ads keep coming at Ralph Shank of Bond Hill.
Kind of washes over me after a while.
Filling Mary Jo Stiritz's screen.
I couldn't wait until Election Day is over so I don't have to see him anymore.
So far this fall alone, more than $31 million in political ads has been spent in this market. There's a campaign truism that says you don't win because you have money, but you lose if you don't. Runaway spending continues on the run.
They can't guarantee.
Damn right it does. God damn.
Just as much. So the fact that they have money makes them relevant. It doesn't mean they're going to win.
And neither campaign has yet hit the point of diminishing returns, so this week expect another homestretch ad blitz as we get close to Election Day. In Hamilton County, John London, WLWT News 5.
John, thank
you. You should totally watch the SNL skit about it being the most important election of our lifetime from last night. So we got a debate in the Montana race, but I want to highlight it because it's another one of the important races the Democrats need to win in order to maintain control of the Senate.
It's not just the presidency.
Well,
you gotta get out and vote.
we'll probably maintain control of the Senate.
We're actually on the 1 yard line. Let's go get out and vote.
There is a thing that we're going to talk about here in just a second. But before we do that, we're going to talk about a race where the Democrats might actually pull off an upset. The polls are tied in Texas. Can Colin Allred unseat the very unpopular Ted Cruz?
With Election Day just days away, we want to get a final look at how the U.S. Senate race is shaping up, and we are joined by former Democratic State Representative Lorraine Bierbill of Dallas and Republican and former Texas Railroad Commissioner and former Texas Education Agency Commissioner Michael Williams. Our thanks to you both. So let's start and talk about the Senate race.
Excellent thought. Good evening.
A lot of discussion as to why Senator Ted Cruz, the Republican incumbent, has trailed former President Donald Trump in the polls in Texas, with Trump leading by 7 percentage points in the Real Clear Politics average of polls, while Cruz leads by 4 percentage points. So, Michael, what do you think of that?
I think a large part of that is just sort of the attractiveness that President Trump has to the base of the Republican Party. It's a little bit different than what Senator Cruz has, but at the end of the day, they'll both be just fine.
Lorraine.
Well, of course, I'm going to beg to differ. I think we could both agree that the likability is a lot different for Ted Cruz than it is for former President Trump in the state of Texas, at least. I think Texans are in a place where we want solutions, right? We don't want someone who's just going to continue to browbeat and continue to push failed policies. And so we have someone who is solution-oriented in Colin Allred.
And what do you make of the chances? A lot of people have asked, does Congressman Allred have a shot at this, a real legitimate shot?
Oh, absolutely. Statewide, Democrats have really been sort of chipping away at that at a statewide top of the ticket position. We've seen very close races, obviously, when Beto ran a few years ago. But even after that, some of the, for example, the AG's race was very close. So some of these top of the ticket races have been close for some Democrats. And I definitely think that Colin Allred is very well.
I think so too, Flash.
Michael.
You know, I've said this a number of times on this show. A Democrat hasn't won a statewide race in Texas in 30 years. Hasn't won a U.S. Senate race since 1988 when Lloyd Bentsen did so. Colin Allred presents himself as a bipartisan candidate. However, his record is very, very different from that. His record is that he's voted with Nancy Pelosi, he's voted with Harris Biden over the course of his congressional.
That he voted with his party is a weird attack.
He's wrong on boys and girls teams, and he's wrong on the economy, and he's wrong for Texas. And Texans understand that.
So let me ask you, because if you've been following this campaign very closely, you've seen a lot of commercials, and one of the main central themes of Congressman Allred's campaign.
The dude on the left is a Republican, if you guys can tell.
And when you look at the polls consistently, the top concerns among Texans have been the economy and inflation and border security. Do you think this was a gamble on the congressman's part to really bank on this issue of reproductive rights and abortion rights in Texas? And I ask you that first, Lorraine.
Yeah, I don't think it's a gamble at all. I think that the fact of the matter is we are an election and an inflection point in our country where we are very close to making a historic decision as a country. And when we bring back that to our state and here in Texas, I think there's a lot of Texas women who look at the failed leadership in Austin, realize that in many ways it has failed not just women, but children and all sorts of marginalized communities across Texas when we talk about funding for health care, funding for our public schools. And I think, frankly, Texans are tired of these failed policies, and they see a potential solution in Colin Allred.
Michael.
You know, that is the abortion debate is a debate that I think Texans want to have. And we want to have it, and we appreciate the fact of what the Supreme Court did in Dobbs by returning that decision to Texans. And so that's an opportunity for us to have that conversation. And we're going to have that conversation, and we're having it right now. And so I don't think that I'm not going to say that that was a risk for the congressman, because that's a legitimate, real conversation. But I do think that they're on the wrong side of that issue.
Say something to the microphone for him, buddy.
Let me ask one last question, and that is, what do you have like a surprise prediction, like any race in Texas that you think is going to surprise everybody? Michael, we'll start with you on that one.
No.
No? You think everything is, you don't anticipate any surprises. In other words, Democrats holding seats will retain their seats, Republicans holding their seats will retain their seats.
I don't see much change in this.
That's kind of boring.
Lorraine?
I think that we will have a surprise. I think there's a lot of data that supports.
He looks like he could be played by Fred Armisen.
Across the state, I think the election is going to be extremely close. And so I don't think that, despite the predictions that my friend here may have, I think that when you're in striking distance, you're in winning distance. And I definitely think this race is going to be within the margin of error.
All right.
I will give her, it will be close.
It will be the Senate race.
The U.S. Senate race will be close. I mean, it was 2.6%, 2018. It'll be somewhere in that range this time. It will be close.
You don't think it's going to be less?
Lorraine Birabil, thank you so much. And they are going
2.6% in 2018, and the Democrats have been making gains in Texas for 6 years. The polls are overrepresenting Republicans. I think they can pull it out. The race that's going to be the wild card for the Democrats, though, is the independent Nebraska that may unseat a Republican and make it possible for the Democrats to retain their majority in the Senate, even if they lose in Montana or Ohio and don't pick up Texas or Florida.
36 past the hour. Nebraska was not expected to be on the list of competitive Senate races this year, but it is. One of the state's Senate races appears to be closer than many had expected, and it could have ramifications for Republican efforts to control the chamber.
A New York Times Siena College poll released earlier this week shows incumbent Republican Senator Deb Fischer with just a 2-point lead over independent Dan Osborne. That's within the poll's margin of error.
Osborne is a Navy veteran turned mechanic who led a strike against Kellogg's in 2021. He opposes a national abortion ban but supports building a border wall. And Dan Osborne joins us now. We extended an invitation to Senator Fischer's campaign but have not heard back from them yet. So, Dan, thank you very much for being with us. Why do you think that you're breaking through at this point?
Well, I think I'm breaking through because people are just ready for a change, plain and simple. I haven't always been a political person myself. I'm a Navy veteran. I also was a Nebraska Army National Guard veteran. And, I did lead that strike at Kellogg's. It was because during COVID, that company had made record profits. The CEO gave himself a $2 million raise. Everybody enriched themselves, and then they tried to take from their workers. So we stood up for what we believed in, and that's what really got me into this and understanding the way our government is run. I think Robin Williams, the comedian, said it best when he said, our politicians should be wearing NASCAR jackets with patches of their sponsors so we know how they're going to vote. And certainly my opponent is no different there. What we're seeing right now in Nebraska is we're seeing a lot of money pouring in. Mitch McConnell's super PAC just dumped $3 million into Fischer's campaign. So if you're watching this and you want to help a guy out, you can go to Osborne for Senate. That's with no E, osborneforsenate.com. And my average donation is $40. So it truly is powered by the people, the way the framers of this Constitution of the United States intended it to be, a government by and for the people.
So, Dan, Republicans are trying to defeat you. You talked about all that money pouring in against you. You're not getting any help financially from Democrats here. If you were elected...
I mean, what do you guys expect from Nebraska? What kind of Democrat do you think can win in Nebraska?
Nobody's ever asked me that before. But, George Norris was the last independent senator from Nebraska. He helped create the unicameral here in the state that I think D.C. could take a few notes from. But he did not caucus with anybody his last term, so there is some precedence there. And I want to challenge the system, because I think the system needs to be challenged. Because for people like me, being a mechanic and currently a steam fitter, it's not working for me. So I'm not going to caucus with either party.
Dan, I was just wondering, we were talking about that you would vote against a national, on the issue of abortion. You're also in favor of building the wall. What is your concept and your view of the humanitarian crisis at the border and immigration writ large?
I thought he was going to say Gaza.
I think it's a two-prong deal. We have to.
I heard humanitarian crisis.
We need more money. We need more technology. But the second part to that is meaningful immigration reform. I was watching something that came across a feed on one of my socials, and I was endless scrolling. I was guilty of that. But it was Ronald Reagan versus H.W. Bush. In a debate in 1980, and they were talking about the border and immigration the exact same way we're talking about it today. So why has nothing gotten done? I think it's because corporations, they're the ones, the meat packers in my state, certainly, they're the ones who benefit from exploiting labor, paying them next to nothing, and they
meat packers.
So
where are they packing that meat?
There's a 10-year backlog of people that just want to come here and work. So we need more judges. We need more lawyers. We need to streamline the process, but we also need to vet them at the same time. I've never met one single person that wants that's not for immigration. Everybody just wants to know we're doing it legally and getting people here. We have 80,000 jobs in my state.
Well, raw is the law.
But we just got to get it right. But we have to do something.
No condoms
So Dan,
if you want to do it
just
legally.
a yes or no question. Would you vote for that border bill that's been talked about so much that Kamala Harris says she would sign if it landed on her desk, that has more of the personnel that you're talking about, that has the technology for fentanyl, that's going to help with getting more adjudication of cases more quickly because of more immigration judges, that's going to speed up deportations? Is that something you would support?
Shit.
Yeah, it's if it's a true border bill, absolutely I would. But the problem is they throw all of these things into these Christmas tree bills, and they hide things. And
how do you know if it's a true border bill
in the U.S. Senate?
Spando Ballet wrote it.
Try to help abolish a filibuster to get things like that done, but also to empty the tree.
That was a horrible joke.
We need a border bill, so let's just make it a border bill, and let's just cut out all the garbage that's behind it that gets bills voted down. So yes, I would vote for a comprehensive border bill with more agents, as long as there's not some other stuff hidden in there.
And so, Dan, who do you plan to vote for president?
You ain't gonna answer that.
I made a commitment very early on that I don't take endorsements from any political party or political figure. It made some people mad in my state, certainly. But who
are you voting for? Not who are you trying to get support from?
Right. Well, if I tell you who I'm voting for, that's an endorsement. So for me, I don't take endorsements. I don't give them either. I'm an independent. I want to work for the people of Nebraska.
Jill Trump Harrisburg.
I will work with that president to deliver for Nebraskans.
There you go. That's the rundown of the Senate races, the important Senate races we're going to be watching on Tuesday night. One more political story, and then we'll do some crime. We'll get the fuck out of here. Trump did finally stop talking, so about 2 hours. Trump wrapped it up at about 2 hours. Remember a couple weeks ago when the state of Texas almost executed a innocent man? That happened. Well, the attorney general who wants to execute that innocent man still and is very determined to execute him wants one of the lawmakers that helped save the innocent man's life to die. To resign.
Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton is calling on Plano Republican State Representative Jeff Leach to resign now.
It's the latest escalation over the now postponed execution of Robert Robertson, and Paxton also says he's now making a criminal referral against Leach. Now, Trevor Sahaki joins us live in studio. Trevor, you've been covering the Robertson case for a number of weeks now. But what
I got a little tongue-tied too there, girl.
Is it's all over text messages that this occurred.
Yeah, that's right, Madison. Leach sent those texts to the Court of Criminal Appeals Judge Michelle Slaughter, asking the judge to reconsider Robertson's case. She reported Leach's texts and didn't engage, ultimately voting with the majority to reject Robertson's appeals. In the end, that appeals court vote didn't matter, as Leach's House committee subpoenaed Robertson in a surprisingly successful effort to delay his execution. Robertson was convicted more than 2 decades ago for the death of
almost wasn't successful.
Shaken baby syndrome, and his attorneys now argue that is junk science, and Robertson's daughter was chronically sick before she died. He would have been the first person in the U.S. to be executed in a case involving shaken baby syndrome. In the days before Robertson's scheduled execution earlier this month, Leach spoke out in Palestine in support of Robertson.
I share these grave concerns about this case and join with death penalty supporters like myself and death penalty opponents in the legislature who are asking and imploring and doing everything we possibly can to just simply push the pause button.
Representative Leach did admit to sending the improper text to the judge in a post on X, writing in part, quote, "I'm not an attorney or a party to the case, nor was I aware of any pending dispute before the Court of Criminal Appeals. Thus, I thought I was in the clear, but clearly I was wrong." Judge Slaughter handled it perfectly and professionally, as any judge should do. According to state rules, lawyers are not allowed to attempt to influence a court about issues before that court. Leach is an attorney and serves as chair of the House Committee on Judiciary and Civil Jurisprudence, a seat that Attorney General Paxton wants him out of. In a statement, Paxton wrote, quote, "He has confessed to ethical violations and to breaking the law. He has unconstitutionally interfered in capital punishment."
This motherfucker who was indicted for fraud 6 years ago at this point, he's breaking the law.
Proceedings, his conduct demonstrates that he is unfit to serve in any capacity overseeing our judicial system. Now, Paxton and Leach's relationship has been strained of late as well. Leach was a former Paxton ally who represents part of the Attorney General's hometown, but he also played a key role in the state House's efforts to impeach and remove Paxton from office last year. Madison, Carmen?
Yeah, a lot of complexities already in this situation, and this just adds another layer. Trevor, thank you.
That wraps up our politics portion of the night. You're going to get enough of it this week. Let's do some weather before we do some crime. No, we're not actually going to go do the crime, I don't think. Unless you want to. If you guys want to go do some crimes, we can. Be gay and do crime. MILF, good evening. I'm great. Igloo. Welcome in, my friend. Who's not great is the people of Oklahoma suffering widespread damage from tornadoes that broke out overnight. Be crime, do gay. Aerial footage over Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Devastating. Really? Maybe I'm just run down. Maybe my voice is not. Oh, it could be the microphone too. I'm on a different microphone. That's possible as well. And just the fact that I've been streaming constantly. God damn. I mean, that is insane.
This is the Hera power plant that got hit. Looks like the tornado just went on the northwest corner of it. There's quite a bit of damage. I'm not exactly sure what this building does, but it's in pieces.
This is heartbreaking. It was like an entire neighborhood of houses were just demolished. Shut up, Lester.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated.
My heart goes out to those people. That was overnight last night. We're in the midst of tornado season, but it looks like Tornado Alley has moved north. We're going to enter the crime portion of the show. We're going to hit the content warning. That was in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. So while we were watching Halloween specials on Halloween night, unfortunately, there were multiple mass shootings. One took place in Vancouver, Washington. One person killed, 2 people injured. Suspect was arrested.
Live from Fox 12 Oregon, this is breaking news.
And good evening, I'm Bonnie Silkman. We do have breaking news tonight. Police say they have arrested the man they believe opened fire inside of the Vancouver Mall on Halloween, killing a man and injuring 2 others. This happened during a family
Can you go to the mall on Halloween?
Vancouver police say they arrested 22-year-old Travis Ward at his residence in Vancouver today. Detectives along with SWAT arrived at the residence and Ward surrendered. He is facing charges of murder and assault. The Halloween shooting inside of the Vancouver Mall left 1 man dead and 2 others hurt on October 31st around 7:30
help you round
p.m.
them up.
Police have not released the name of the man who died. Police say that the gunman was wearing a Halloween mask at the time, and they believe that this was a targeted shooting.
You would think trick-or-treating in a shopping mall would be safer.
After getting tips that
Until you get, mass shootings going on.
ongoing investigation, we will keep you updated on this developing story.
But there is kind of like a feel-good section to this, if you can have a feel-good section to a mass shooting. A teen is being praised for his action during the shooting. We've got security camera footage.
In this harrowing nest video, you can hear shots fired on Halloween night at Vancouver Mall.
Oh, God.
Vancouver police say a suspect who was wearing a Halloween-type mask shot fire, killing 1 and injuring 2.
How many kids, that was their first Halloween?
She said Halloween-type mask, so I would just assume it would be any mask, not specifically a Michael Myers mask, if that's what you're asking.
And they'll probably be traumatized for like the rest of their life.
That's 16-year-old Bronwyn Cruden. She works at Twisted Escape Rooms. You can see her in this video. After shots were fired, she locked the door shut. Through the glass, you can see families running for their lives.
As I was going to the back.
Yeah, good on her. She locks the door so that the kids that are outside can't get in.
Escape rooms. You can see her in this video. After shots were fired, she locked the door shut. Through the glass, you can see families running for their lives.
As I was going to the back, a family was trying to get into the store, so I went back up to the front and unlocked it for them.
Oh, okay.
And they went straight to the back of my store like they knew what they were doing. They were out of there. Their kids were crying.
Here's that emotional moment where Cruden heroically helped.
Okay, much better, much better.
I don't know if I would call myself like a hero for sure. Like everybody keeps saying that.
She knew she should shelter in place, but she got up to let them in anyway. The stories at Vancouver Mall showing what incredible things people are able to do in times of distress.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of a dick move on her part to lock them out.
Or just to escape.
I was like so freaked out that I just I don't know, first started hanging, and then I kind of jumped down and just started running. I had too much adrenaline, so I didn't really feel anything. I just started running.
Brianne Stoner knows the feeling. She was just trying to
Brianne Stoner.
Retreating.
We saw a bunch of people running towards us, a lot of terrified mothers pulling their children along.
You didn't have to call her a stoner. I could tell by the way she looked.
And ran into hiding behind the mall, sprinting through the parking lot and aiming to hide in the bushes.
One of the residents of the apartments behind us was really sweet to let us through into the gated area, and we just kind of hid out there for a while.
While people were certainly shaken up, they were all grateful that they at least got to make it out alive.
Tanvi Verma, K2 News.
I like the ending shot with the ambulance there. I was wondering what was coming. It's taken years, but there's finally some good news in the quest for justice in the Breonna Taylor case. Brett Hankinson, one of the cops involved in the illegal raid that killed Breonna Taylor, found out his fate from a jury yesterday.
And right now tonight, he's guilty and will be heading to prison. The verdict from a federal jury coming at 9:30 tonight. Hello, everybody. It is continuing breaking news coverage from WHAS 11. I'm Doug Prophet. And moments ago, this was the scene outside the federal courthouse. In the past hour, supporters of Breonna Taylor chanting and celebrating the verdict in the streets outside the federal courthouse at 6th and Broadway. He becomes the first Metro police officer involved in the Breonna Taylor raid 4 years ago to be held accountable by a jury, and now prison time. The guilty verdict, a shock to many, since this jury had become deadlocked, twice telling the judge.
It was not a charge that had anything to do, like it was putting the neighbor's life in danger or some shit. Violating the neighbor's civil rights by firing into their apartment recklessly. Had nothing to do with actually killing Breonna Taylor, but like at least he's gonna go away.
They were having trouble. Isaiah Kim Martinez and senior photojournalist Alyssa Newton are live right now. They covered every day of this 3-week trial. And Isaiah, Breonna Taylor's mother speaking less than an hour ago. And the way this day played out, this verdict is a true surprise.
Doug, I think you can argue for everybody who was in that courtroom on both sides. You have Tamika Palmer, Breonna Taylor's mother, who let out a very audible gasp in that courtroom when the verdict was read, the words guilty, specifically of violating her daughter's civil rights back when Brett Hankinson in 2020 fired 10 shots into the side of Breonna Taylor's apartment. Of course, Brett Hankinson, like Doug mentioned, is facing a maximum sentence of life in prison. I did catch up with him and his attorney moments after that conviction just outside the courthouse. Here's some of that video.
Mr. Hankinson, do you have any comment to this?
Don't have any comment.
Are you surprised by the verdict? Did it surprise you at all?
And you hear Jack Bird, Brett Hankinson's lead attorney there, saying no comment. Now, again, moments after that conviction, Breonna Taylor's mother, Tamika Palmer, along with other family, stood on the steps of the federal court building and spoke to reporters. Of course, I spoke with her moments into that, asking her how she felt about all this. Here were some of her answers to us tonight.
Grateful. I'm grateful. I'm grateful to God. It took a lot of patience. It took a lot of time. 1,694 days.
1,694 days.
It was long. It was hard. It was. I don't even know if I got some words, but thank God.
Did not do that to us.
Thank God that he covered 12 jurors who chose to do the right thing, who took their time.
Thank you, God.
To understand what was really going on and that Breonna deserved justice. So I'm grateful to everybody involved. We here. I was worried. People lose focus and people get, we move on so quickly from everything. So I think we all had that worry at some point or another. Yeah.
It's still not real justice. It doesn't feel like justice.
Chose to give it to God. I was carrying it all and I was getting weaker by the moment, but I had to figure out another way. I had to do something different.
Tamika Palmer there reacting, answering my question when I asked if she was worried how it's been so long. It's been over 4 years. I do want to mention, though, again, Brett Hankison found guilty of violating Breonna Taylor's civil rights the night of that March 2020 raid, but he also, Doug,
it was about Breonna Taylor,
guilty for the second charge in all this, and that was for violating the civil rights of the 3 neighbors in that adjacent apartment to Breonna Taylor's. His bullets went through Taylor's sliding glass door and into their apartment. He was found not guilty.
Okay, so I had it wrong there.
A split verdict, Doug. So it is very much, like you said, a stunning result in many ways. You could argue, of course, Brett Hankison's family and friends. This will be something.
T-minus, thank you for throwing out the gift sub.
They're actually coming to terms with this right now. I do want to mention that, again, he faces a maximum sentence of life in prison, but that is at the judge's discretion.
Wow.
The sentencing date, that is March 12th of next year at 10 a.m.
Let's pick up on that sentencing real quick. Of course, obviously, as we saw in that exclusive video, Brett Hankison is at least a free man tonight, leaving the courthouse until his sentencing, as you said in March, Isaiah. We want to make it clear the judge has the full sentencing power in this. Many legal experts I've talked to tonight said they are doubtful that he would get life in prison because he doesn't have a prior criminal record on this one count. And what we could expect from in March.
Doug, you're right. It's truly at the judge's discretion. We've never seen.
Man, them claws coming at you when you're not expecting them.
I can tell you, he is out on bond like he's been throughout this entire case. The judge mentioned the fact that he has showed up to every single court date. There hasn't been any issues. So whether that good behavior as a criminal defendant weighs into her.
He should know better. As a cop, he should know better.
Look into, Doug.
Hold cops to a higher standard. Chainsaw.
Let's go through.
Welcome in, my friend.
Now, Isaiah, because it was a roller coaster, and we've put it on the screen for you to go through the exact timing of how this day played out.
Yeah, Doug, it was just before 1 p.m., 1 this afternoon, that the judge got a note from the jury saying, essentially, we cannot come to a verdict. I think the exact words, I actually have it up here, the jury essentially saying they're deadlocked. They can't come to a unanimous agreement, a unanimous decision. Then, fast forward about 6 hours, the jury then says they disagree on 1 count. So what does that mean? Then they continue to deliberate.
And done. Welcome in.
The jury returns that partial verdict, initially finding Brett Hankison not guilty of the charge involving the neighbors.
This is wild.
A couple hours later, that shocking moment, the judge reading the verdict, guilty, convicted on the charge directly relating to Breonna Taylor, Doug.
At least he was convicted. Happy for that. A Texas man with a sword set a house on fire, and we've got video of it. So, once again, Texas man with a sword accused of setting his neighbor's house on fire.
New at 5 o'clock, a Katy area man is caught on camera dousing
Thank you for throwing out the gift sub.
gasoline while wielding a sword.
Yeah, part of what happened, caught on video. You see here, investigators say the man set 2 homes on fire, then threatened deputies.
Jason Miles is live with new reaction from the neighborhood along Fry Road for us. Jason.
Hey there, guys. Yeah, take a look here behind me. This is where the suspect is accused of setting one of those 2 fires. Today, he appeared in court for the very first time on charges of felony arson and other alleged crimes.
Brick doesn't really catch fire.
Halloween decorations are up in many yards along Brighton Hollow Lane, but some say it was this neighbor's frightening actions that left them in fear.
Most definitely some craziness.
Jackie Gray's surveillance camera caught 46-year-old Fee Lee Den Wynn's alleged actions last week, when he's accused of pouring gas outside her garage while holding a...
Okay. You may be cool, but you will never be smoking a cigarette, pouring gasoline on your neighbor's house with a sword in your hand. Cool.
6-year-old Thi Lee Din Nguyen's alleged actions last week, when he's accused of pouring gas outside her garage while holding a samurai-style sword and smoking a cigarette. That's after investigators say he set this exterior brick wall on fire.
You know, I caught him doing it on.
I do like his bandana.
Come out, I confront him about it. He admitted, and then after he think that my house is going to burn down, I was able to contain the fire. He tried to come back, you know, with a sword to attack me. You setting my house on fire?
You can hear part of the exchange in this clip.
Oh my God. I got my kids in the house.
Before Gray
You set my house on fire?
Nguyen sits in his driveway. He's also accused of setting fire next to another neighbor's home, 2 houses down from Gray. They shot this video of first responders on the scene, and this video of Nguyen's arrest after he was tased for allegedly threatening deputies with his sword.
I don't know what the situation is.
It came out during Nguyen's first appearance in court.
Oh, please tell me there's body cam footage of that.
The mental illness. He was given a total bond of $200,000 on felony arson, aggravated assault, and other charges.
If you violate your bond conditions, just one of them, one time,
Wait a minute. Who is this judge? Look at this dude. Is this a judge or like the head of like the pirate council? What the hell?
will zero bond you. I will never give you another bond, and you'll be in the Harris County Jail until your trial date or until your cases are resolved. Are we clear?
Gray and others say they pray that Nguyen making bond is not a possibility.
I mean, I fear for my life, and not only mine, my neighbors' lives.
And back here live, neither the folks who live in this house or Miss Gray say they had any particular personal issues with Mr.
Judge Drip.
From others in the neighborhood that he's kind of known for his odd behavior, and I have learned that deputies have been called to his home before. Today, the judge ordered another mental evaluation. Reporting live in the Katy area, Jason Miles, KHOU 11 News.
It is all really troubling for that community. Jason Miles tonight. Thank you.
He's going to get a mental evaluation. Is going to come back like nothing's wrong with him. He's just an asshole. You sick fucks are going to enjoy this. 2 cops in LA were injured in a crash. I think it's a pretty spectacular crash, too.
LAPD officers was injured early this morning in a rollover crash in South LA. The incident happened just before 1 a.m. at the intersection of Figueroa and Rosecrans. The officer was turning eastbound onto Rosecrans when he was struck by another vehicle, causing the rollover. Both officers only suffered minor injuries but were transported to the hospital as a precaution. The crash remains under investigation.
Hello, I'm Mark Brown.
Hey, Mark Brown. Always appreciate you, Mark Brown. This dude in Pennsylvania escaped from prison, and we've got video of his daring escape. He has now pled guilty to murder charges.
Man who escaped from a prison in Philadelphia last year has pleaded guilty to the charges against him. 20-year-old Amin Hurst was initially charged with 4 murders and then spent a week and a half on the run last May before he was recaptured. Hurst entered a plea yesterday to 28 counts, including 3rd-degree murder, attempted murder, and escape. He's expected to be sentenced in 2 weeks.
Is that all the video we've got? Yeah, like this dude's just like watching them. What are they even doing? How is that crawling helping anybody? That's video of his daring escape from prison. That's not like the one that we saw the dude like go up the wall. That was a lot of fun. Now that's a daring escape from prison. I don't even know how to introduce this story to you. I'm just going to tell you what the headline is. I don't know what the headline means. An alleged Washington State sex scammer. A sex scammer. What is a sex scammer? I probably have to hit the content warning for this one.
A woman accused of using sex to lure men into dangerous situations and rob them appeared in court today.
Oh, that's called a Cardi B.
35-year-old LaCosta Mortensen found her victims by using a fetish website. As Fox 13's AJ Janavel reports, investigators say Mortensen's crimes span multiple counties.
On top of the case here in Pierce County, investigators say that Mortensen has an active case in King County. Looking through those documents, it seems as if Mortensen had a plan coming to these sex scheme rendezvous armed with a loaded revolver. At 5'5" and strapped with a loaded gun, investigators say 35-year-old LaCosta Marie Mortensen targeted men who wanted kinky sex.
The defendant is charged in 2 separate armed robberies in Tacoma and is listed as a suspect in a similar robbery that occurred.
You
live
in sexual anarchy. Soft-spoken in court.
Flashes like wood.
When it came time to act, according to probable cause documents I obtained. The police records say
Alien, welcome in.
Connect with her marks on the website FetLife.com.
I'm on FetLife.
Local Tacoma hotels, then pull out her silver revolver.
I think it was King County, T-minus.
And rob her would-be lovers at gunpoint.
In Washington.
Wallets, credit cards, then committing fraud. The probable cause documents lay out the timeline of Mortensen's alleged crimes. The first incident happened in September. The target, a member of the military. The documents say Mortensen got away with his wallet that had his military ID and military travel card inside. The second incident happened about 3 weeks later in October. Records say Mortensen tried to zip tie the victim and leave him in the bathroom. She went away with a credit card and spent hundreds in fraudulent purchases. These incidents are just the cases out of Tacoma.
FetLife sounds like an insurance policy.
Are resolved in Pierce County.
It's not.
Likely face charges in King County for the Kent robbery.
According to the probable cause documents, Mortensen was caught on hotel surveillance camera. She gave her real phone number to the victims and had called the police herself for a separate situation back in July.
Wow.
She captured her on body cam footage. Investigators used that footage to confirm she was the suspect in these fetish sex felonies.
Fetish sex felonies. Fetish sex felonies. I like that phrase. Fetish sex felonies sounds fun. I guess unless you're doing it at a P. Diddy freak off. Then a fetish sex felony probably takes on a whole new meaning.
Because my next guest just testified before a federal grand jury. He says he was in possession of a trove of digital evidence from Diddy's freak-offs and parties. His name is Courtney Burgess, and he says a friend gave him 11 flash drives that belonged to the late Kim Porter. And if you follow this story, you'll know that Kim Porter is Diddy's ex-girlfriend and the mother of 4 of his kids. On those drives,
I think somebody just stuck Reese cups under the door.
8 videos featured 8 celebrities.
Possibly, I don't know. I can't really see.
Parties, and that 6 were males, 2 were females. The drive also included a manuscript of an alleged Kim Porter memoir, a memoir that her 4 kids insist is fake. Courtney Burgess told his story on a podcast before he told the grand jury today, and after he told the grand jury, and I mean immediately after, he booked it over to my set, and he and his attorney talked to me. I should tell you that he was very limited in how much detail he could go into about his testimony. And because the 8 people in the videos, the 8 celebrities in the videos were allegedly victims of sex crimes, we know who they are, but we will not be naming them, famous or not. Here now is my conversation with Courtney Burgess and Ariel Mitchell, who's his attorney.
Is one of them Justin Bieber?
Participants in the video even knew they were being recorded. Were there any cameras in places where you'd assume privacy, like bathrooms?
Yeah, well, I've never been in this house, but the picture, yes.
What?
That's what took place, yes.
You're aware of surreptitious cameras that were recording in private places like bathrooms.
I didn't see the cameras. You could tell how the person was angled. I knew that it was a camera there because I was there. I was there. I don't know if the person was too tall, he was holding it or whatever. but I wasn't there.
May I ask you this, Courtney? And Ariel, you can jump in on this as well, but I want to hear from Courtney first. Your home was raided by federal authorities, and I assume it is because of this material. Is that true?
I wouldn't say that. They just went to every one of them looking for me. They said, the paperwork said the 24th, that I had to be there the 28th, and then it was the 27th. I said, I can't make it there, that's tomorrow. So I don't know. From the look of it, it was 4 days.
Such a smooth head.
Yes, when we talk about a raid, we're talking about when a subpoena is served for documents, a search warrant or an arrest warrant. In this situation, Mr. Burgess was not in any way, shape, or form had a search warrant or an arrest warrant issued for him. It was just them serving a subpoena. So when the federal government needs to serve a subpoena, they use the Marshal Service to come to all of your residences if you have more than one residence. So in this situation, they sent marshals to all of Mr. Burgess's residences, and that was somehow construed or understood or turned into a raid, but he did not face a raid. It was just to serve him the subpoena.
Ariel, do you believe
And was it raided?
Subpoenas were issued and executed based on the federal authorities' knowledge that these flash drives existed and had this kind of compromising material?
I think it was based on statements that Mr. Burgess made in a prior interview.
And those statements include descriptions of what the witness says he saw on those tapes. So I asked him about that, and he answered what he could, given the limitations imposed on him after testifying before the grand jury. Out of those 8 videos, 8 celebrities, 6 men and 2 women, how many of those 8 celebrities were close to being underage or potentially underage?
2 males.
2 males. And of those 8 celebrities, how many of them were intoxicated or under the influence of drugs?
This is going to be all speculation. I just want to preface it by he wouldn't know if they were. Right.
Sure.
Appeared to
Let
be.
me rephrase it.
Based on, yes.
Understand. Out of the 8 celebrities who were recorded,
2 of them were minors.
Intimate relations with Sean Combs, how many of them appeared to be either inebriated or intoxicated or under the influence of drugs?
All of them. All of them.
Out of those 8, how many appear to be potentially victimized? How many might have been victimizing?
I think all, to be honest, all.
Were victims
They
or
victims.
were perpetrating?
Victims.
They were all 8 were victimized,
Yeah,
meaning
victim.
this was happening to them and they were inebriated.
Right. Not knowing, I guess, how much proof it was in it, what they was doing.
And of those 8, how many seemed to be potentially minors?
2 to 3, possibly 3.
2 to 3. Also on the flash drives, Courtney, was what looked to be a manuscript.
Bieber's the only one I've heard of that
It appears to be a woman
was
who had
underage.
taken Kim Porter's private journal.
Anybody know of any other?
Is that accurate?
Once again, speculation.
We don't know.
I
don't know how. Yeah.
I don't know how, who wrote it.
We're dealing in hearsay here.
It's from her when I spoke to her.
What you received.
Would Usher have been underage at the time?
Completed book, or was it notes from Kim Porter that later were made into a book?
It was completed. It's only 60, it's only about 54 pages. It was
Sure, and in the beginning, it says, Kim made me promise that if something happened to her, I would make sure this book became public to the world. The way Sean moved, I knew that was a promise I would have to fulfill. Kim knew I was a woman of my word, and this book
this is just like it's
to print. So it
I
sounds
feel
like
icky listening to all this.
who wrote up the notes from Kim Porter. Does that sound accurate?
It's how you read it, yes. I haven't even read the book.
Do you know who the woman is?
No.
And to be clear, he received it in its complete form. So I think just to make sure we have some clarity here, the manuscript that Mr. Burgess received was already in its complete form. It's not that he edited it or changed anything.
Got it.
He did give it to someone
Makes
else
sense.
who then edited it, but that's not how he received it.
Okay, so Ariel, did your client, Courtney, receive the book from the woman who seems to have written it, saying, I'm a woman of my word, and this book is going to make it to print?
I don't know if he received it from a man or a woman. He can answer that.
I received it from a man. I tell you, somebody she was dating.
Huh.
Do you know if the notes from the book really were from Kim Porter?
It was, yes, because I spoke to her probably like 6 hours before I got it, received it.
You spoke to Kim Porter?
Yes.
So Kim Porter.
Just saying hi.
Okay.
Just saying hi. Didn't
Okay, Ariel, go ahead and give me clarity on the timeline.
No, I'm trying to get him to provide clarity of, was there a conversation with her?
No, I was
or
talking to the person, and he said, hold up, this is Courtney, be right here. Let me say something to him. He said, I know him, put me on speaker. Then that's how we end up speaking.
And then later, somebody brought somebody else came and brought you the manuscript.
Right. Before I left ATL.
To the best of your knowledge, Courtney, do you believe that the manuscript is truly based on Kim Porter's diaries? Because there is a lot of dialogue in there. I mean, there's pages and pages of actual dialogue, which, I mean, I can't remember.
The woman next to him is his lawyer.
From 5, 10, 15, and 20 years ago.
I guess this is a woman's scar. You understand? Maybe, you know, what she been through. It's, you know.
Josephus, good evening.
I'm not a woman, so I'm just going by how I got female.
He's an associate of one of Diddy's victims.
How scoring because what went on in a relationship. And you can't, when you're scoring, you can't forget it.
Important to stop down here for a moment and note again that Sean Combs is accused. He has not been convicted of any crimes, and so far everything against.
They're not giving us anything. This was just sensationalism. A P. Diddy witness was able to come on. I would like to present to you guys this story of my boy Young Thug finally walking out a free man. He's absolutely guilty of everything they charged him with, but the state really fucked up his prosecution.
I take full responsibility for, you know, my crimes or my charges. I want to say sorry to my family, my mom. My mom got 11 kids.
Yeah, you were just hearing that apology from Young Thug, a.k.a. Jeffrey Williams. That happened while he pled guilty in a nearly year-long YSL RICO trial here.
That's right. Among those big charges, Faith, gang activity, weapons, and drug charges. 11 Alive's Grace King was in the courtroom as this all unfolded. Grace, we know so many questions here. So what happens next in this trial?
Well, the trial will continue forward, but with a much smaller case and a much emptier courtroom because only 2 of the 6 defendants are still on trial. The judge released Jeffrey Williams, better known as Young Thug, on probation yesterday, so he's on his way home to Los Angeles. 3 other defendants pleaded guilty this week in exchange for shorter prison sentences, so they're done with trial.
Well, I thought he lived in Georgia.
That leaves just Diamante Kendrick, Shannon Stillwell, their teams, and the state in the courtroom. Former DeKalb County District Attorney Robert James says that's tough to explain to jurors who were sworn in a year ago today.
The judge will tell them to disregard, you know, the fact that these other individuals aren't here. They're not concerned themselves with it, this, that, and the other. But, you know, jurors are human beings, and they're going to be curious and perhaps even a little bothered. And so, yeah, it's you can do it, but you're not going to do it well.
All right. Well, Grace, we've seen a number of plea deals in this case that has unfolded. What are the chances that those 2 remaining defendants will take deals as well?
They've rejected the state's final offer, but it's possible if District Attorney Fani Willis lets them. Both of them had rejected those offers on Thursday, but Judge Whitaker encouraged them to talk to the DA and reconsider before court resumes on Monday.
I'm thoroughly convinced that they're trying to get these plea deals because there should be a mistrial in this fucking thing. It has been sloppy shop from the prosecution the entire time. Go back out to LA where a white powder was thrown out of a Little Tokyo apartment building. Several people were hospitalized.
The government isn't talking about a drug investigation that brought officers to Little Tokyo. Apparently, though, multiple people needed help after exposure to a hazardous substance. Fox 11's Susan Hirasuna live in Little Tokyo to explain.
Well, Christine, we called Alhambra police multiple times, but no response. So we cannot figure out officially, at least, what happened. But you put two and two together. Basically, officers arrived here at this apartment complex in Little Tokyo. And not long after that, this white powdery substance wound up on the ground in front on the sidewalk. It's still closed to pedestrian traffic. A massive response to a hazardous material thrown out of a sixth-floor apartment onto the street below in Little Tokyo.
Alhambra PD is involved. We cannot speak on their behalf.
But LA City Fire could speak to the people sickened by the white powder that wound up on the sidewalk.
They found patients were suffering from unknown symptoms described as overdose type symptoms. There was a white powder that was found on the ground, so our firefighters quickly escalated. They upgraded this to a hazmat incident.
At least one patient was seen brought out of the building, clearly suffering as firefighters stabilized him before he was transported. In all, 3 people were taken to hospitals. First responders dealt with the sick before hazmat arrived. Once hazmat was on scene, crews approached the powdery substance to figure out what they were dealing with. The good news, despite the close contact,
there was no firefighter and no.
Was it fentanyl?
However, we have been evaluating our firefighters and police officers for any exposure, and they've been going through some decontamination procedures just as a precaution.
Ultimately, it was determined to be drugs on the sidewalk, but what specifically was not disclosed. Decontaminating the area required spraying the sidewalk and gutters with water.
Was it cocaine?
Hours later, retesting to determine if any residue of the drugs remained.
Once that's determined to be clear, then we can start returning people back into their.
I guess they don't want people to go over and start sniffing the sidewalk.
All right, and we understand that they will retest again. As you see that the sidewalk is still closed off. There is another entryway into the apartment complex, so people are able to get back into their home. But the good news is, if there is any, is that it was the 3 people in the apartment that were exposed to the drugs and needed medical assistance. Nobody else, no pedestrian, no driver driving by. So other than that, that's a situation here, but people are able to get back into their homes. Reporting live at Little Tokyo, I'm Susan Hirasuna, Fox 11 News.
I mean, that's exactly what they didn't want people to come up to the sidewalk to start sniffing. Maybe this guy took a sniff of the sidewalk before he went driving in his USPS truck, the postman. Pulling a hit and run.
Surveillance video helped solve a whodunit, but it couldn't solve the problem behind it, at least until 7 on Your Side got involved. Now, this all began when an East Bay man arrived home to find somebody had crashed into his car, okay? He checked his Ring camera video. It showed a surprising culprit, the postman. 7 on Your Side, Stephanie Sierra has the investigation.
Hey, wait a minute, Mr. Postman.
You'd expect to hit your car and then flee the scene, but that's what happened here. And months later, this family is still trying to recoup their losses.
I just wanted to let you know something's wrong with the car. You know, the back is all smashed.
Brady Muir got the urgent call from his son. The family's VW Jetta was mysteriously damaged.
You know, at first I was hard on my kids because I was like, just tell me what you did.
His teenagers said they were not responsible. They'd gone to get burgers and returned safely.
They're like, well, literally, like, we went to In-N-Out and then came home. So I was like, you know what, let's go through our Ring.
Brady scrolled through his Ring camera video.
And all of a sudden, I see the post office.
He was shocked at what he saw. The video shows a mail delivery truck with no driver inside, slowly rolling away from the curb. The driver runs back and jumps inside.
And all of a sudden, and then you hear a large bang. And then
what an idiot.
Moved like 4 or 5 feet. And I'm like, holy cow. Like, it was the post office. And I was just like in complete disbelief.
The driver backs up and slowly veers around the damaged car, then drives off.
Did we get a note? Did they ring our doorbell? Nope. Person got back in the car and just drove off. Just like nothing ever happened.
Brady contacted the local post office to make a claim. An employee came and took
Wait, he's dragging something behind him.
You know, turn this in, we'll get back to you.
However, no one did. Brady contacted the postmaster in Sacramento.
Okay, what you need to do is take the car to get 2 estimates, and then we'll get back to you.
Again, no one did. So he called back.
And he's like, to be honest with you, he goes, it's going to take anywhere from 6-9 months for us to get going on it. And I was like, yeah, that's not going to work.
The damage seemed minimal, but the impact had actually bent the frame. The car was a total loss, and the payout didn't cover the replacement cost. Brady had to settle for an older model.
That's when the reality hit.
He'd lost a perfectly good car, plus the insurance deductible, rental car costs, lost hours at work, all through no fault of his own. And months later, still no word from the U.S. Postal Service.
Your agent ran into our
Louis
car,
DeJoy sucks some ass.
decided to drive off. It's on video, clear cut. And then nothing, crickets.
7 on Your Side asked why the U.S. Postal Service never responded to his claim. A spokesperson said it's all because Brady never filed Standard Form 95.
Oh, my God.
File a claim without it. Brady said no one told him that, so he quickly filed the form. But that was back in July. Still no word.
Here we are and getting ready to get to November and nothing.
So we contacted the Postal Service again. This time a spokesperson said his claim would be reviewed that very day. Brady would get a check in a few weeks and, quote, "We sincerely apologize and thank you for bringing this to our attention."
But yeah, fingers crossed.
Wow.
And in case you're wondering, USPS says the driver who caused that crash retired immediately after the incident. And Brady also tells us he filed a police report but did not pursue criminal charges in this case.
Retired after the incident.
About a federal agency like a delayed claim in this case, let us know. We can help you sort it out.
Call the news station to get the post office to do what they should have done to begin with. Wow. A prison worker in Nevada showed up for work intoxicated. The prison system sent them home for being intoxicated on the job. Anyone care to take a guess at what happened?
Now. A prison employee suspected of being under the influence is sent home from work. He then crashes and dies. Thanks for staying with us here at...
I shouldn't laugh at that.
And I'm Brian Loftus. Unanswered questions do remain. 8 News Now investigator Vanessa Murphy working to uncover what happened. Joins us now with body camera video from that scene.
Nevada State Police Trooper Mark Wilner arrives to this crash scene on the 95 on July 2nd.
Is he an employee at the prison? His ID, I was going to grab it.
The driver ejected from his pickup truck after he lost control.
There's no fault.
First responders tried saving his life.
Did we get a time pronounced? 11:16.
The 8 News Now investigators obtaining more than an hour of video from Wilner's body-worn camera. He's the first trooper on the scene.
I understand this is a lot right now, and I'm sorry.
He talks with witnesses.
You guys did see what happened? Yeah.
Blocks off a lane.
Slow down.
And tries to piece together what happened.
I wanted to start getting some photos real quick.
One witness says it appears Collins may have been racing. Others report only seeing the final moments.
I have 3 people that saw it roll.
They definitely shouldn't have let him drive.
Learn 38-year-old Miles Collins was behind the wheel. He was an HVAC employee at Southern Desert Correctional Center near Indian Springs, heading back to Las Vegas. Prison staff appears to have immediately arrived.
I guess I have the warden here with a couple other high-ranking officials. I haven't spoken to them yet. They're still kind of hanging out to the right of my truck. But they did confirm that he was from there, and they said that he was alone. There was no one else with him.
I guess their prison investigators are coming out too.
Okay.
They want to know if the coroner knows yet.
Their investigators are coming out too?
I guess they're internal investigators.
And then this investigator for the state prison system introduces himself.
This is kind of an unusual thing
for us normally, but I'm just here kind of just to liaison, see if you guys need anything. I was instructed by my supervisor to hang out until the coroner takes the body. So I know it's going to be
it's going to be a while.
More tthan an hour after Wilner arrives, Metro gives him more of an explanation.
They might have some issues. Apparently he showed up to work intoxicated this morning. So they took him to Concentra for a urine test. They were supposed to take him home, and they didn't.
We investigated for more than 3 months and confirmed Collins was suspected of being under the influence. Internal documents we obtained note at least one employee said Collins was slurring his speech. He was taken for a drug test and sent home. We also obtained this coroner's report confirming Collins had a significant amount of drugs in his system, a combination of MDMA, methamphetamine, cocaine, and THC.
What in the what?
Investigation is underway about who should be held accountable.
Motherfucker was partying.
Get behind the wheel. A department spokesperson telling the 8 News Now investigators responsibility would fall to a shift supervisor, warden, assistant warden, or division head.
So that's why they all were out here so quick.
Vanessa Murphy, 8 News Now.
Wow.
A spokesperson for the Department of Corrections says this is a personnel matter, so the department cannot provide any further information. However, the 8 News Now investigators and their sources say the internal investigation appears to be ongoing.
All right, now I'm going to take you down to Texas for a coach at a high school was apparently running a $1 million teacher cheating scheme. This motherfucker was the kingpin of the whole scheme. A teacher cheating scheme. I'm going to need some details here.
Yes, I'm Daniela Guzman. My co-anchor Keith Garvin is on assignment tonight. Well, this is a statewide teacher certification cheating scandal that means fraudulently certified teachers.
Oh, fraudulently certifying teachers.
Classroom. The crime ring allegedly ran out of Harris County, and tonight 5 people are facing felony charges so far. We have live team coverage with KPRC2's Bryce Newberry breaking down how this all happened. But we want to start with Mario Diaz at one of the schools where the arrest happened today. Mario.
I'm here at Booker T. Washington High School, where behind me the full court press was on, according to investigators.
We didn't need the sports puns.
For dollars with regards to a fake certification of teachers program. And the man who was allegedly behind it all, the boys basketball coach. His name, Vincent Grayson, a well-known court leader within HISD. Back in 2023, the 57-year-old guided Booker T. Washington to their first ever UIL state tournament. Then earlier this year at the Houston Sports Awards, he was nominated for High School Coach of the Year. Now, Coach Grayson did not operate alone, according to investigators. There were 4 others, including 2 assistant principals, one from Booker T. Washington, the other from Yates High School. So a total of 3 educators overall. And again, according to prosecutors, they worked to falsify at least 200 teacher certifications. I asked an HISD
200
impact for parents regarding their children's grades from teachers who may not have been certified.
A child's grades have nothing to do with whether or not the teacher was certified or not certified, or whether or not the teacher obtained their certification fraudulently. I do think the implication for all of us should be that we need to hold everyone to a higher bar. Our leaders, our teachers. HISD does not thinks it's completely unacceptable that this type of conduct could happen in our profession.
Now, school let out here about 90 minutes ago, and there were a line of parents here lined up behind me. I was able to track
This clearly wasn't today.
Daughter.
It's Sunday.
I spoke to both of them about the arrest, not only the assistant principal, but again, of the boys basketball coach here at Booker T. Washington.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I don't know what to say about that, but gotta be careful, people.
What was the general reaction?
He was high.
Kids when the news broke.
I'm not sure, but in my class, everyone was like gathered up, reading it off one phone. Everyone was surprised, and then
Wait a minute. Anybody else see that? This dude rolling one in the background.
In my class, everyone was like gathered up, reading it off one phone. Everyone was surprised. And then I guess they just went around the school telling everyone.
Maybe it's a napkin.
A number of students today telling us this all caught them by surprise, but it also caught HISD by surprise. An official says they have launched their own investigation. They're going to be working with investigators to find out some more and identify exactly how many teachers, students, and families overall may have been impacted by this scandal. Live at Booker T, Washington, in North Houston, Mario Diaz, KPRC2 News.
Yeah, it was a napkin. I'm just a pothead. See pot everywhere. Jason Kelsey slams fans' phone for calling Travis Kelce a homophobic slur over Taylor Swift. The former Philadelphia Eagles center Jason Kelsey took a Penn State University football fan's phone and slammed it into the ground on Saturday after the fan called his brother Travis Kelce a homophobic slur. Guys, is it gay to date Taylor Swift? How do you get called a homophobic slur for dating Taylor Swift?
Kelsey! Hey, Kelsey! How does it feel your brother's a faggot dating Taylor Swift? Kelsey, can I get a fist bump? Kelsey, can I get a fist bump? Kelsey!
Exactly. It doesn't make any sense.
Kelsey, can I get a fist bump? Kelsey, can I get a fist bump?
Dude totally deserved it.
Kelsey! Hey, Kelsey! How does it feel your brother's a faggot?
Well, what was going on here? He's just like walking around with a case of beer. Like, was he at an event or was he just like chilling? He's on his own time.
Kelsey, can I get a fist bump? Kelsey, can I get a...
He should have snapped it. He spiked it instead.
Kelsey! Hey, Kelsey! How does it feel your brother's a faggot dating Taylor Swift?
Oh, he's tailgating at the Penn State game. Okay.
Kelsey, can I get a fist bump?
And like they were on, or at least he was on Sunny in Philadelphia. I had no clue who he was because, you know, his brother wasn't dating Taylor Swift yet. Okay, I'm going to play you guys a video of a cat. This cat is very special. This is Wizard Cat Merlin. You notice that little thing on his neck. It's a feeding tube. Merlin was born with a disability. Could not use his back legs, but he has lived a long, healthy life. A couple of weeks ago, Merlin started having some issues. Has cancer. He had emergency surgery to have it removed. He is home tonight doing well. It looks like he is going to make it. It's a miracle that he lived the first time. It's a miracle that looks like he's going to pull through this one. He's a little spunky cat. You should go follow him on TikTok, Facebook, all the social medias at Wizard Cat Merlin. Sweet baby indeed. He is spunky as he can be. They've got all kinds of videos of him All kinds of cute pictures of him. He is adorable. He's also got sass. They've also got how you can donate to help with his vet costs, because having emergency surgery is very expensive. But luckily for him, he's got a pretty big following, and they were able to get the money together pretty quickly. He's still going to need some care for a little bit, but it looks like he's going to pull through. So that is Merlin the Wizard Cat. The gods gave him 18 lives. Oh. That's sweet. Tomorrow night, what did I title the show? I titled it something. It's got a special name. I don't know. I don't know where it's at. I call it the Election Night Eve Anxiety Show or something like that. The Election Night Eve Anxiety Show. Join us tomorrow night for the Election Night Eve Anxiety Show. If you're watching on Twitch, election edging. No, I guess the edging starts on Tuesday night because we're probably not going to know the winner. Get prepared, rest up, go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before we hit the sack. I'm JustinFREAKIN. We'll see you tomorrow night.